Happy Monday, everybody.
Heck yeah, dude. It's the happy Monday hoodie. Oh. Are you having a happy Monday?
Yes. Yeah, I am. I'm not sick like you all. I went through
bastards.
I'm on the other side of it, so I just have like no sympathy for anybody else who gets sick.
I'll tell you, I was talking to David Rowan. I had a quick meeting over at the warehouse for the mystery box campaign, and and I casually asked, like, hey, you got your flu shot, right? And he's like, no, I never do flu shots. And I was like, oh, oops. Oh, I was like, look, you have vectors in your life now, sir, and you need, like, believe the magic of those shots, because even, like, this year, the shots were as far off from the disease as I've ever remember hearing in recent history, and my kids had it, and Bonnie had it, and it was the difference between, Callie had a cough for a day, Bonnie, she had one day where she was tired and slept. I was laid out for 5 fucking days with a fever, out of my mind. I should have gotten the shot, and that's just me missing the one thing.
I normally do, and then I kind of forget. Like, when is the point when I'm supposed to get the shot? You know, like.
I mean, the answer is it's like even now the word is because this is the biggest. I don't want to say epidemic or pandemic, but is the highest flu run since 2009. Yeah. And they're saying even now, even this late in the game, if you have the opportunity
I mean, I got the flu, so I got the best shot you could ask for, surviving it. But yeah, no, I agree. Normally I get it. I just this year I'm like, last year was effective. I'm like, I'll get around to it. I have the flu. That should have been higher up on the list.
Well, and it's funny the avalanche effect that it has, where it's like your sleep gets upside down, your willingness to get anything done, your inbox gets like you have a great excuse to not respond to anyone.
Well, especially because you're in ostensibly the best position to be responding to emails, the thing you can do anywhere at any time.
Yeah, but I'm also in the best position to watch another episode of Black Mirror. Hey, did we Justin, I know we talked about it during Night Attack, but I guess did we talk about on Weird Things that Beat Saber thing?
We talked about it between the shows.
I think you've talked about it on every stream that I've been on with you for the past 2 weeks. So I'm not sure, but I think in after show we've talked about Beat Saber. Yeah.
Well, you called me out to reach out to the guys, and the guy responded. He said he's going to send me an early access thingy. So I'm stoked.
Cool. That's it. Dude, that's. I mean, listen. Start swinging that Twitter account around. Beat it against the trees. See what falls out.
Yeah, might as well. It's like Brian.
By the way, have you heard anything else from the other?
No. No, but I have started chatting with Hal Sparks, which is interesting. I don't know.
Andrew, are you up on Brian's new hobby, which is just finding out who follows him on Twitter and just DMing them and being best friends?
No, that's cool.
Or try to basically after what 5 years of working very hard to build a social profile, originally for the purpose of attracting interest to do a TV show. You know, you getting that respectability, not with fake followers, but like real people, right? I basically one day realized, oh shit, I'm wearing a backstage pass lanyard at all times. And can just chat to anyone and just act like they're peers.
Yeah. I never check my DMs, but it's a good theory. Good idea. I don't know. Who knows who I have blown off.
Yeah.
I am ready on my side. I don't know if you want to finish your oatmeal.
If you want to go live, that's fine.
We're still
definitely already live.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to pull up last week's notes too. There we go.
Hey, anyone else just not answering their phone anymore? Like unless they're already unless they recognize the phone number, just don't answer it, because what's the point? So you can listen to somebody say, you know, lie about this is about your Google listing, or hi, this is from the service department. We're calling about your.
There was a prime time from about 8 o'clock in the morning to about 11 o'clock in the morning, West Coast, that I get no less than 4 calls from various area codes in South Florida. Like, or from various cities with the 954 area code.
Oh, got it. Because the IP telephony is picking stuff that it thinks, like
it believes I will answer.
Right. The scammers don't know that. Yeah.
This is a key moment for health insurance enrollment. If you are a health insurance policy, then please call your mom.
Yeah, I if it's somebody I know, I pick up. If it's an unknown number, the only exception is if I'm waiting for a call and I know it might be in a specific area code.
Yeah,
I'll pick up, because I've had that, you know, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'll pick up if it's the local area code here. But because my phone number is
that's right, because you have
512.
Oh, that's a nice benefit, because like for me, the only time I pick up is if and also I was thinking about changing my voicemail message. I was thinking about just permanently being in do not disturb mode and just having it always go straight to voicemail and it just says, hey, too much spam. If you're a real person, just tell me so, and I'll call you right back.
Yeah, let's say this for an after thing, because I have a couple thoughts on that too.
Okay.
Cool. Alrighty. You good to go, Andrew?
Yep.
All right. Take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hello, friends. It's me.
Brian Brushwood.
I live. I exist.
And our show is produced by Mr. Bryce Castillo.
Hi, everybody.
You will probably get the flu from listening to the show, just so you know.
Man, get
Some
your
of us
shots,
already
people.
did.
Yeah, get your shots, people. It's not too late. If you have not experienced the flu, and even though you've heard that this year's flu thing is sideways and not perfect for the flu, better to have it than not have it, because my kids, my wife, all 1 day 6. Me, didn't get a shot. It was a lost week. We call it the lost week.
Yeah, man, and the fevers. Whew. That's how I knew I had the flu. I'm like, I feel a little achy, and then I'm like that point where like I'm trying to sleep, and like I have the dream that just sort of loops over and over and over again. Like
I had one of those dreams. It was about mining. They're like, we gotta mine that Bitcoin, but I was in like Tron World, and it was apparently mining a Bitcoin is riding a roller coaster in Tron World, and so I would just do that, and then I'd wake up, and then I'd fall back asleep, and it's like, we gotta mine that Bitcoin.
It's like your brain's like, I know you like new random dreams. I'm not feeling so good. I'm just gonna put the old VHS tape in the tape player, kids, and just have you watch that one.
Yeah.
Talk about a new week for weird news. Oh my god! I have so many effing stories. I got a month's worth of stories here, and I'm gonna have to pick and choose.
Okay, go.
Well, first story, big story. February 6th.
Oh, yeah, we got a date for the Falcon Heavy, right?
Yep, it's been confirmed by Elon Musk. Falcon Heavy, the largest operational rocket on the planet, basically the most powerful rocket since the Saturn V, not including some Russian things that went a little splody, is set. The planned date is February 6th from Cape Canaveral. They're going to try to launch this thing into the sky. Three Falcon 9s strapped together. And what's going to happen is the rocket's going to take off. The side boosters are going to detach, land back at the Cape if all things go according to plan. Main rocket, main payload is going to keep going, and then they're going to separate that. And then that core is going to land on a barge. All at once, folks, next week. That is the most impressive show in space you could possibly imagine. It could blow up, too. We don't know. It's never been tried before. It's a very, very risky proposition. Elon Musk has gone on the record as saying that, like, hey, come show up. You'll see something. And I'm going to be there. And I already set up a little email list. If anybody's interested, if you go to andrewmain.com/space, you can sign up. I'm trying to put together a little get-together for anybody who's interested in showing up and doing that. I'd like to see if these guys want to do it. That'd be kind of great. And everybody's recovering from the flu and stuff. But
well, my original plan was to have a better schedule than I have. but absent that, I think I have enough airline miles that I could do everything last minute. So my decision will be very last minute based on the probability of it going on that date, because these things get pushed back all the time, right?
Yeah, sure. They get pushed back all the time. Sometimes you don't know until day of if it's going to get pushed back or day before it gets pushed back. So the tentative plan is they say February 6th, and then the pushback date, if that they don't hit that day, would be the 7th. So unless there's a major thing, between now and the next few days that makes them think like, oh yeah, no, we have to push this back a week or so. If I were anybody else, I would kind of plan on showing up. And because what I want to do, I'm going to show up. They don't do the rocket. I'd love to meet some people, love to hang out. And that's sort of my plan is like, either way, it'll be fun.
So last time I ever got close to something like this was I was trying, back when I was doing Halloween Horror Nights in 2010, that was the last shuttle mission of that era. And I wanted to try to go do it, but then they pushed it back. And so I wasn't in the area during the time it happened. There's kind of a poetry to the fact that I couldn't make it to the last of a dying form of space travel. And now here we are 8 years later, and I could be there for the dawn of a new form of space travel, which I think would be, I don't know. Like if I could pick the two, I'd rather be there for this one.
Well, please.
No, go ahead.
No.
Oh, goodness. No, sorry. No, go ahead.
I feel bad because you haven't been able to comment yet. So I'm like, I should stop interrupting.
Just we went up before and it was great. Like for to watch the SpaceX launch.
It's exciting. It's always exciting, to see these things. And I've been to I don't know how many launches. I have to think about how many SpaceX launches I've been to, and I've been, multiple rocket launches. I've actually stood on, the NASA Causeway, the one inside there, like, which is amazing. Watched a Delta launch, which was, fantastic. And part of the fun of it is the atmosphere. And each time I go, it would get bigger and bigger and bigger. When Justin and I went to him in Florida, we'd go to the park there. There were a lot of people there. A lot of people gathered around. When I went to the last one, one of the last ones. Last one I went to out here at Vandenberg, it's harder to see it. There's not as many places. We went to this road that's right on the edge of the base, and it was cars for miles, and it was a fun concert-like, atmosphere. I got a bunch of friends to show up. We had there's a photo, I think, somewhere on my Instagram of me and a bunch of friends holding up the SpaceX flag. It was just a great, great time. It was just a lot of fun, and just you hang out with all these other people who love space, are excited about the future. This Falcon Heavy launch, I think it's going to rival Space Shuttle launch as far as the number of people that show up.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, and plus also, here's the crazy part of it is if you're rolling the dice, there are the most vectors for exciting disasters across the board. Like, if this blows up, it'll be one of the biggest rocket blowing up experiences of all time. If, let's say it's successful, now you still have the secondary drama of, like, do the two attached first stages land appropriately? Does one of them land and the other one blow up? And then even then you have the third initial stage. I don't know how to describe them at this point. I mean, I know that they're all the same engine, basically, right?
Yeah, first stages. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
But the first stage is just a weird thing to say.
The third booster?
But, yeah, third booster, right. I don't know. This is going to be like you're going to get lots of adrenaline rushes during it. You're going to have a lot of moments where stuff could go wrong or go really, really right.
Yeah.
Well, I think to Andrew's point, there is just kind of a gathering excitement for this kind of stuff. I mean, when we first saw the SpaceX launch, so many years ago, it was maybe, a few locals and some fans, but like the idea of a bunch of chuckleheads, driving up, hours and hours from South Florida to come see it. Like, I don't know exactly how many of us there were per se, but for this, I think this is not a curiosity anymore. I mean, this is a big, gigantic step forward. This is a huge, monumental moment in history, whether or not it happens next week or another time.
So in the chat room, Taz the Man has a really good question. We should all stake our claims on exact predictions for the outcome. Knowing that none of us have any way of knowing, I think we should place a $5 bet on how everything goes.
100% success.
Yeah?
Possible push to the 7th.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, if we're betting on it, like that means that we're like investigating what the weather is supposed to be on the 6th and 7th in Cape Canaveral, right?
Hey, has there been a recovery of the first stage failure since they started landing them on barges? Like once they hit it on the barge, they pretty much got it licked.
No, I don't think they've had after. Yeah, I don't believe so.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so I'm gonna say.
So all right, according to the Weather Channel, we are looking at Tuesday, February 6th, cloudy, high of 69, low of 59, with a 20% chance of rain, and Wednesday is PM showers, 60 to 70, high of 70. Low of 60. So for whatever that factors into our gas betting for whether or not this is going to get pushed.
Well, I don't at this point, I wouldn't think it would be because of weather. I think it'd be because of the likelihood of, hey, what's this part? Oh man, okay, that goes in there.
I'm going to make a very specific prediction. It will launch just fine. One of the two stages will be unrecoverable, but not for like a catastrophic blowing up reason. It'll be some reason that we hadn't seen before. Like it landed in a gold miners
or something, like
it landed in a gold miners claim, and he won't
Florida?
give
it up. Dear Lord, now you know that is the worst possible outcome that can happen.
Yes.
If it blows up, it's fine. But if one of those things landed back on land, where outside of the base, where it's not supposed to, because its guidance system, that's horrifying, Brian.
Yeah, I know.
That would be the end of SpaceX.
I'm going to stick with
Brian
it.
is predicting the end of SpaceX, everybody.
I'm going to stick with it.
So you're sticking to that's it. The entire company gone in one horrifying situation where a dog is dead because of a rocket coming down in some poor young girl's lawn.
Hey man, I know it's a long shot. That's why, but that's where the money's made.
It's like I know that literally we spend at least 30 minutes a week on this show talking about one company, but I'm betting $5 on the fact that it will all be gone by next week. And I'm gonna win that $5. God damn it! Yeah, and I mean, I don't have any. You know, to me, the only two predictions that you could possibly make are that it would succeed or it would be pushed. Right? Like they already did the static fire. That's been done, right?
Yeah, they did the static fire. That was really awesome.
Nodding yes on the audio podcast. But yeah, so
I thought it was rhetorical. Sorry. So they did the static. That was a success. You know, we'll see. I mean, they don't want to take any chances here, but my prediction's 100% successful outcome, and that's my hope too for the future of humanity.
And that is certainly my hope as well. But you know, if we're making a game of.
But this Abe Lincoln speaks otherwise.
We're watching the footage of the static fire in the big plume cloud.
This was January 24.
Yeah.
So 5 days ago.
Wow.
So one of the ways you keep track of this to find out what's going to happen is if you go to Reddit. The Reddit SpaceX forum is pretty good. And if you're curious, if you want to go down there and you want to make sure that you're going to get some place to see, Kennedy Space Center still has ticket packages available. Now, they had a Falcon Heavy Feel the Heat package, which was going to be like a really cool, and that sold out. The closest package is sold out, but they still have the Falcon Heavy Closer package, which includes admission to the Kennedy Space Center, which is pretty cool, and that's $75 a ticket. If you just want to go see it close and know that you're going to have a spot to see it, for $35 you can get the Falcon Heavy Close ticket, which allows you to see it from there. They have a area to watch that from, and they'll have a jumbotron with a live feed and all that, and you know, communicators doing that. I bought a ticket for the package they have, which is the Closer package, which is going to be in the Rocket Garden, which sounds cool.
Shoot, I didn't think about the need to buy tickets. That sort of screws up my last minute decision thing.
No, well, hold on. So I got tickets just in case nobody else shows up and I'm there by myself, because I've talked to my two best friends. I won't name them, and they're all kind of like, yeah, we talk about it for years, but and I'm like, all right, if I go there and I'm by myself, then I'll go to the Rocket Garden. But if I go there, I got a hotel room right by Jetty Park. Jetty Park's where I want to go watch it with. It's where I want to watch it with everybody listening here. So my plan is, well, if nobody shows up, then I'm not going to be standing there by myself. You know, I'll just go over to the Kennedy Space Center and watch it.
Right on.
Yeah, that's all. That's what I'm saying. You know.
Hey, so what's the name of that New Zealand rocket company? Those young upstarts.
Yeah. So the rocket is the Electron. The rocket company is let me get the name of that again, because we've talked about them before. Electron Rocket and
Rocket Lab USA.
That'd be
Rocket
weird.
Lab, because they're a New Zealand company. It's Rocket Lab. Yeah. Yeah, and so they have, because it's funny, I know more about the rocket itself, the Rutherford engine. It's an electric pump that pumps the fuel into air. Very, very clever. So these guys have been working for years on a much, much smaller rocket that they can lower the cost per launch. It won't be a lower cost per pound to orbit, but the idea is, instead of having to spend $60 million, You could spend a few $1 million to launch a payload in there, and they've designed to be able to handle things like CubeSat-sized payloads, etc. This was a market that originally the Falcon 1 was going to go into, but they didn't find much of a market. And so SpaceX like, fine, we'll just build the most awesome rocket ever. But now that CubeSats have become much bigger, there's a lot more opportunity for that. So they say that the cost per launch is like less than $6 million. We're currently, a SpaceX launch, official launch price, I think it's maybe 60 or so. I think with used boosters, it's gone down a bit. But anyhow, it's a very practical way to be able to launch things in there if you can't, get on board a much larger your payload, potentials are really cool. So they built a really cool rocket. They spent a lot of time developing their own engine. That's my theory. If you want to have a rocket company, you got to build your own engines. They built their own engine, and after a long waiting game of we think we're launching, no, we're not. We tried to do it, didn't work. Tried again, didn't work. Now finally they got it going. And again, that's the nature of the business. And every time we criticize SpaceX for a delay, it's like, yes, and how's the James Webb Space Telescope going with NASA?
Yeah. I mean, how amazing is it also that SpaceX, the basement shatterer of pricing for getting things into space, is now the mid-tier, the target brand, right? And now there's an even lower, hey, no, we can get it even cheaper, if you can get on a SpaceX.
I mean, they can't get it. They can't get it per pound cheaper. They can launch a rocket cheaper, which so can India and some and some other countries can kind of do that too, but they can just, the idea is that the whole launch cost, you could buy out a launch for $6 million as opposed to $60 million. So yeah, it's not a more efficient system, but it is a lower cost.
No. I think, I'm just trying to talk about the price tag. Let me ask you, just go back to SpaceX real quick. Obviously the big story 2 weeks ago was the question on whether or not they had lost or a satellite, a secret satellite had been lost. And the question was, the guidance that we talked about was, well, watch what happens with SpaceX going forward to see if things are delayed. Mm-hmm. Does the fact that this Falcon Heavy launch seems to be happening about on schedule bolster the argument that, the secret satellite is going to be leaked, that it was, destroyed, but it could indeed be out there?
Well, the big question was, there seems to be a lot of people think that something happened with the satellite, but whose fault was it? And there was a tremendous amount of blame. You would read headlines like SpaceX latest failure implies this, and people are like, we don't know, they failed, and why didn't you say Northrop Grumman? Well, nobody knows who they are. So it's a misleading headline. You could put Northrop Grumman's,
yeah.
It's Austin man Brian Brushwood murder investigation. Well, Brian didn't murder anybody. Yeah, but he lives in Austin, and nobody knows who the other guy is.
Right.
And it affects him. Brian could have been a victim. It's that I hated that logic. There was just no, you put SpaceX and failure in there because there's a vested effort by people to, who are very directly affected by SpaceX's pricing, et cetera. So yeah, now there's been other launch stuff put on the manifest, put on hey, we're going to be doing these government launches. There has been no change to their certification rating. There has been no evidence that there's any big investigation or anything into it. And there have been, closed door conversations and stuff. And yeah, seems that SpaceX did what they're supposed to do, and there was some other problem, either problem with the hardware Northrop Grumman made, either the whatever it used to for the second stage, the satellite, or actually it worked and we don't know. But I think that you just don't see the people writing the sort of the scare pieces or the anti-SpaceX pieces sort of backtracking on that, because the purpose wasn't to inform.
So I guess the one thing that we can say is that there does not seem to be there's any evidence to say that the government is punishing SpaceX for screwing something up.
No, because they haven't shipped any launches. Nothing's been changed. No, they have a government satellite launch scheduled for tomorrow. Okay, which you would think that that would be kind of an issue. So this is for Luxembourg, and this will be a Canaveral launch, which is, if there was a problem, they would not be doing that. So
yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, that's that. I mean, it's what we ask folks to keep an eye out on. So I'm definitely curious to see, if there's anything past that. But I mean, it seems to be that at the very least, it was the government looks at that as a Northrop Grumman issue and not necessarily any problem with the booster that got it up as high as it did.
Yeah. So back to Rocket Lab and Electron. So they've been trying for several years to finally launch this rocket, which is another great thing to have in the arsenal, because when you can spend $6 million for a launch, as Justin's pointed out, the price opportunities are great. $6 million for a launch to put some stuff up there, satellites, et cetera, whatever. There might be a growing market for that, and it's a great achievement. And Rocket Lab, here you're this company struggling for several years to make this thing happen. You've got some really great engineering going into it, and you kind of want to celebrate it. You kind of want to let people know that, hey, we're open for business. Space is open for business. You could put something in space. So let's let people know that.
Yeah, it seems like it would be, to my mind, a responsibly splashy PR thing to throw something up in orbit that maybe people can see for just a few months. And then it'll fall down, and I'm sure it will be totally uncontroversial, and maybe be a fun thing that you could take your kids in the backyard and say, "Hey, there it is. That's the world changing before our eyes, kids. You see that flashing light? That's the Humanity Star."
So what they did was they basically launched their payload to get into orbit was a disco ball, basically a giant disco ball with these mirror facets.
By the way, PR tip: if you want people to not call it a disco ball, don't in your PR release say, "Whatever you do, guys, don't call it a disco ball. It's a Humanity Star." All right? I know it. Here's a picture of me standing what next looks like to a giant disco ball, but it's not a disco ball. Don't call it a disco ball.
Humanity Star, Stu, don't do that. They launched this ball. Looks like the world's largest D&D dice, and what happens is it's in orbit. It's in an orbit that'll last for I think like 9 months or something like that. It's gonna fall. It's one of these things. They put these things, a lot of objects like that, a lot of CubeSats, things like that. You put into orbits that will decay, so it's not going to stay up there forever. Okay, so the thing spins around 90 minutes around the Earth, and then once it gets to a certain point, if you look like right, at dawn and dusk, you'll see like a little bright streak. If you look in the right spot, you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, and the website does a really good job of sort of sketching it out of where it is at any time, and it's fun to watch it travel in real time. If you go to thehumanitystar.com, they've got the orbital trajectory, and they only have it highlighted for when it's in daylight hours and visible. But yeah, this is, of course, when you want to see it is in that twilight evening, so you can catch the reflection of the sun off of it. But man, getting a little backlash from this. Some astronomers calling it space graffiti.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of outrage. There's been a backlash against him because people are complaining about, that, when you're doing some observation, you're looking through your telescope or using some space, your telescope system to sort of do observations on parts of the sky, you're going to get this flash. Now, here's the thing. And like, there is so much outrage, and a lot of it's from people who I don't know anything about space. I don't know anything of space or astronomy or whatever, but I saw a lot of sort of outrage and stuff, about some of this stuff on Twitter and all this, like, another satellite to interfere with this, and like, look at this streak across the, the Hubble Space Telescope, and they're like, oh man, like, that would suck, but oh wait, this is below the Hubble telescope, so you wouldn't see that. That's actually looking at a thing in a geostationary orbit, or that's a satellite in a much further out orbit. I'm like, so yeah, satellites can cause streaks and things like this. So the points at which this is going to be causing the flashes, as far as I know, are not necessarily peak viewing times. And I'm sure there's the possibility it could. And people are like, oh no, this could be a problem. Here's a slide from 4 years ago when something streaked across, my band of the sky I was looking at. It's like, All right, let me get this straight. We got a company now that's lowered the cost of launching stuff into space to $6 million per mission, which means they're going to make possible, hundreds, maybe thousands of CubeSat satellite pieces of technology. They've advanced the art of space exploration considerably. They put a thing up there that maybe somewhere some astronomer, working on their thesis is going to be frustrated by. And it's an outrage, it's pollution. It's putting strobe lights on polar bears. One, effing cool, baller, if you want to do that. Two, no, it's not.
It seems to me that everybody's outraged about not what is actually done, but what they are afraid might be a worse version in the future because of that.
The troubling precedent that this sets. Yeah. Listen, explain to me, anybody who's upset about this, how this does worse for our relationship with space than Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah, precisely.
Like, I mean, come on. Look, at best, it's a reason. Like you said, Brian, you have 3 young girls and you like to go take them out in the back with your telescopes and show them the story of the stars, right?
Yep.
Here's an element where you can say, hey, look, you, a human, can affect the night sky. This is somebody who has put his time and effort into creating a company so we can interact with space on a level that we have never before. And as, slice up the motivation however you want between, a daring stunt or hubris or ego satisfaction. But that's there. Somebody did that. A human did that, and now we are looking at it. If we want to get back into this, we stop dreaming argument, here's a sign that we can affect the cosmos. This is tangible evidence that you can do it. And now there's a million better ways to illustrate that, and you can then have this as an entry point to get there, much in the way that science fiction brings us as a gateway drug to talk about actual science. But beyond that, I mean, who cares? I mean, aside from a bunch of whinging, I try not to get to this level, but shut up, nerds.
I think that kind of comes back to too that it's a territorial thing. There is this sort of attitude that, well, space is for astronomers and NASA astronauts. Space is for these people who, are part of, formal academia, part of NASA. This is who space is for, and this is our domain. And I'm going to make another argument, which is that in launching this, Rocket Lab has reached prominence. Tons of people know who they are. A lot of corporate companies have, more aware. Yeah, they did it. They succeeded. It was operationally, I think, probably a very smart move for them as far as commercial clients whatsoever. They know that. It means that we're going to get more payloads and satellites and stuff. One communication satellite is worth far more than everything the Hubble has ever done, in my opinion. I love the Hubble. The Hubble is an amazing thing. What we're learning about our universe is incredible, but if I have to put a value on providing telecom to countries that have we're unable to, reach out to other parts of the world, efficiently or cheaply or whatever, I'm gonna side with that. When you hear about some of these smaller countries now that are getting their own satellite systems, things like this, TISAT, places like this, it's exciting, and that means more to me. I personally don't benefit from that indirectly, but I get a lot more enjoyment out of looking at space imagery, things like this. But for me to say, I really need more. My photos of the Horseshoe Nebula are more important than you guys having low cost telecom.
Yeah, I again, it's I don't know. This is like NIMBYism on a global scale. It's just like,
yep.
Yeah, you're celebrating your triumph the wrong way. You should be stoically nodding and sagely looking at data, not shooting off fireworks. Knock it off.
Yeah, I hats off to Rocket Lab. I mean, hats off to them. Yes, I absolutely do believe that we're going to get some evidence, and we're going to get people trying to make a case too. You're going to see some photos of, I was doing this and this streaking. It's like, yeah, there are actually, and people like, this showed up. I'm like, there are databases that tell you what satellites are crossing your path. Just saying. And if you want to look at the history of really stupid stuff that's done, like, the Russians throwing an entire spacesuit outside of the, spacecraft with the, as a spacesuit stat, there's a ton of stuff we've done, and we do a lot of these things. And, I love going out to the desert and watching every now and then, looking for the path of a satellite or something and seeing that little flash, that little thing going, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Look, to be honest, if I could, I would love to walk out and have the night sky be filled with artificial satellites that I could see blinking and bleep blopping all over the place. I want the sky to look like Coruscant. I want it to be so busy. And then, it's like, astronomy becomes more complicated. Look, at that point, it's cheap as hell to throw 1 billion space telescopes up. We're gonna, in 50 years, I'm making all of this up, have an array of telescopes that are the entire orbit of the Earth around the sun, that we're able to do deep probing from all over the place. It's like the light pollution ruining astronomy argument holds less water these days, as a certain best-selling author once told me. If what you want is no light pollution, North Korea is like the best place for astronomy then.
Rocket Lab is going to end up doing far more for astronomy than the negative impact. And I'm sure there will be, somebody's going to hey, I saw this thing and interfere, but then we talk about the precedent. Well, what happens if companies want to advertise in space? We'll yell at them.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
It'll be bad publicity if Subway wants to let you know that the $5 footlong is available for 9 months by putting up a green-ass satellite. Then everyone will be upset about it, and they'll yell at them, and we will prove that this is a bad way for you to advertise. They should have spent that money on Facebook ads. Whatever. This is we are in the process of figuring this kind of stuff out. We're drawing our line socially, but as far as this. A mop-topped ragamuffin throwing up his disco ball. Who cares? He made a company that I think will benefit humanity.
There is an entire Wikipedia on space advertising, and I remember years ago hearing about Pepsi and Pepsi caused an outrage. Or somebody created an outrage because they were going to try to advertise in space. There was a company here. We have the American company Space Marketing back in 1993 promoted a 1 square kilometer illuminated billboard to be launched into low orbit and be visible from Earth. I have no idea how they plan on doing that, but anyhow, it's kind of been happening. But there was Pizza Hut's had a pizza delivered to the International Space Station. So they're putting stuff on rockets and all that. But anyhow, there's been. There was in 1993, faced with the Space Billboard Project, U.S. Congressman Ed Markey introduced a bill that banned all U.S. advertising in space. This bill was amended to only cover obtrusive advertising, thus allowing sponsorship deals where logos were placed on the rockets or astronaut clothing.
Okay. That's the worst. The worst. Sorry, go ahead.
It's funny is that here's the funny thing about that is that this guy says, we need to ban this. And they're like, now we can't put an ad on an astronaut's uniform. We can't offset that. Oh, well, I guess we have to amend it. You didn't think this thing through. You didn't think that it's that's right. They had to amend it because I'm going to ban it all. Now we can't even do that. Oh, that was an unforeseen consequence.
That's, but also that's tends to be usually safe territory for legislators who want to make noise is to ban a boogeyman that doesn't yet exist, but he might be a problem.
Yeah, the troubling trend that leads us to.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this kind of crass commercialization of space is disgusting, and we need to take steps toward it. In fact, if I had my druthers, the only thing that would be advertised in space is patreon.com/weirdthings. That's where you can support this show. Listen, folks, we don't take advertisements on this podcast. We bring the bargain directly to you. Give us money, and we'll keep doing the podcast each and every week. And more than that, we're going to give you an RSS feed where you're able to get early access to the After Things show. That's the show we do after Weird Things, where we talk about how to be a entrepreneur, how to solve creative problems in your own life, and be a better person. You know, that would look great on a rocket. And I don't just mean patreon.com/weirdthings. I mean a written transcript of everything I've just said. Put it in smaller and smaller font to the point where it's almost unreadable. Yes, this sentence too. And by that, I mean, yes, this sentence too twice. Patreon.com/weirdthings.
It's going to be a hell of a rocket. It's going to look great.
Somebody mock that up. I just want that on a rocket. The only advertisement allowed in space.
Last thought. Every time I hear the term light pollution, in my mind, I hear this magic, amazing gift that lifted us out of the dark ages and into the modern era. You know. Light, electric light. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, dude. That's a really good point. I mean, what's funny is I say that, and yet we definitely moved way outside of town just so that we could see the stars. And we've watched light pollution reduce our ability to see everything here locally.
Sure, the alternative sucks. You know, it's.
Of course.
You know, like they're like, oh no, there's all sorts of stuff you can do to reduce the amount of light that goes up. Yeah, it sounds really expensive. You know, it sounds. And it's like there's things that I love. I don't think you should have to subsidize. You know, which is hard. But you know what you should be subsidizing right now?
What?
Again, totally. We're done talking about SpaceX. We're done talking about that. Let's talk about The Boring Company.
So I saw you were quick to respond. You tweeted in response to Elon Musk, who announced that they were selling a Boring Company branded flamethrower. And from the context of your tweet, it looked an awful lot like maybe you'd purchased one.
I purchased one.
There it is. Okay, I did not see this one where you definitely copied and pasted your confirmation. You bought a flamethrower?
Yeah. Why didn't you?
Well, because I would just get a non-branded flamethrower. I thought. I don't know. It's pretty awesome looking, though.
So yeah, Elon Musk, he sold the Boring Company hats, which were. I think he made like 20,000 or something like this, and so he did his initial hat offering, which raised, you know, like $1 million. I forgot how much money it raised, you know, $1 million or something like this, which was kind of brilliant. And then he made a joke about, yeah, we're gonna have the Boring Company flamethrower, which is a nod to, of course, Spaceballs, where Yogurt's talking about, you know, merchandising and Spaceballs the flamethrower. The kids are gonna love it, and people are like, ha, 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 yeah, you know, flamethrower or whatever, you know. And he announced last night, hey, yeah, flamethrower's here. It's real. We're selling them. They're $500 a pop. They're totally legal. Talk to ATF. ATF says if it doesn't go past 10 feet of flames, then it's fine. You can buy flamethrowers on Amazon, too. It's not like, oh, my God, how can I sell this? They're used for burning weeds and stuff. They're tar, etc. Totally legal, totally legit. So they started offering pre-ordering of flamethrowers last night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy one because I want to buy a Boring Company flamethrower. What more reason? I don't have to explain myself to anybody. And then there's watching video of Elon Musk rushing towards the camera with a flamethrower. And you got to listen to the audio. Listen to the audio. There's a cackle right before the beginning. You hear this cackle. Well, go back to the beginning. You hear
it has to loop.
You hear It's worth $20 billion, folks. $20 billion.
You know, our own Hank Scorpio continuing to do Hank Scorpio things.
Yep.
Elon Musk, by the way, on Twitter was tracking. He apparently ordered 20,000 flamethrowers to be sold within a few hours. He said 1,000 were ordered. Then 2K, then 4K. At last count, 14 hours ago, he had sold 7,000 flamethrowers within 24 hours of selling them on the internet.
That's so insane. That's awesome.
So that's a thing that's happening. At $500, are you satisfied with your purchase, Andrew, so far?
Well, when I get it, I'll let you know. I mean, here's the thing: is that like, it's crazy, it's stupid, and that's sort of the point. But also, I'm like, it's gonna go up in value. You know, it's gonna become like, you know, original nerd history.
Yeah.
What's that?
As a collectible, as a piece of history, yeah.
But I didn't buy it, you know, for that, you know. So I mean, I bought it because like, yeah, this is kind of a cool thing. This is like I'm a lazy man. I'm a very, very lazy person, and I look around and you look for people you say like, hey, who's really high functioning? You know, who's really getting things done or doing stuff like that? And I look at people like Jeff Bezos. You know, this is a guy that's now the richest man in the world. Could have retired a long time ago. You know, Elon Musk is a guy that's he's gone against conventional wisdom, put everything down into companies, and other people said, no, don't do it. You know, you don't put your own money on the line, and he does it and do that. And I'm thinking like, man, like I like that, support that. I think that's pretty baller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the idea. The idea is that you are just buying a really cool souvenir for a company that theoretically could be consequential in the grand scheme of Western civilization, right?
Yeah, and there was like, you know, they had it last week. Boring Company did a presentation at Culver City to talk about their plans for extending their tunnels and whatnot. And, you know, two things happened. One is like that, you know, city council woman who made a comment like, well, I think this is, you know, half baked or this or that or whatever, you know, and it was this sort of this, her frustration was saying that like, I don't think companies have, you know, commercial enterprises done enough to help public transportation or transportation in general. And I'm thinking you probably got there in a car, but made by, I don't know, maybe a company. But anyhow, and then somebody I knew made some comment afterwards about, I think it's, and I'm like, listen, I don't know. I don't know. Digging tunnels is the right answer. I know that I don't know enough to say that it's not. And I think that somebody wanting to solve these problems and saying, hey, I'm going to put my own money on the line. Oh, and I'm going to get a bunch of idiots to buy flamethrowers to pay for this. I'll be one of those idiots. Because, like, yeah, if we can make tunnels and things like this more practical, I mean, people, it's such an unsexy thing. But you think about, so is the internet, so is a lot of other stuff. But if you have a really cheap way to increase the amount of available area in high density places and increase, you know, whatever. And I could go on and on about, you know, induced demand arguments. I'm like, I can explain why those are sort of poorly founded. But anyhow, yeah, yay. Let's do this.
If you look at the history of Elon Musk, the least explosive, I don't want to say unsuccessful, but least explosive of the companies that he has put effort into is the one that has the most mainstream understanding that this is a technology that we need to pay attention to, right? When Elon Musk with SpaceX went into the idea of private rocket, you know, a non-entrenched player in private space travel that was looked at as very high risk at the most charitable, right? The idea of building a new American car company is something that trail has many dead bodies along it, right? Of people that spent a lot of money and were not able to create something like that. And he has done both of those. But Solar City, which is not, you know, it's a company that now, did that get acquired by Tesla?
Yeah, Solar City is now part of Tesla.
Yeah. But yeah, it was one of them that, like, we all understand. I mean, it's like common orthodoxy that, you know, listen, green energy is the way to go, and so it wound up having to get folded into Tesla because Tesla was so good at making batteries.
Yeah, and had a good customer outreach and all that things. But yeah, it was a lot of.
So it's like why not? You know, why? I mean, it seems as if that Elon Musk sees that the problem with stuff like Hyperloop is, you know, getting the land for it and or you know, putting it in the exact places where you'd want it to go. How do you solve that problem?
Boring Company isn't necessarily Hyperloop. Boring Company is just, you know, tunnel technology. You know.
No, I know. I mean, but I'm saying from his like, why did he focus on tunnels, right? Like,
yeah, let's solve these problems, and it's something being done with private capital, privately done, and then, you know, it's just this like, yeah, like if, you know, they're making assurances they're not going to disrupt people up above, and they're paying for it, and it works for me, you know. So There you go.
And a flamethrower.
And a flamethrower. For the chuds. That's my theory. Flames with the chuds. Gentlemen, you know what time it is.
I'm feeling it. It's got to be time for
Journey Quest
on
Journey Quest.
You have been tasked by the syndicate. Because if you double cross us, we are going to use cruise missiles to blow up your loved ones if we know where they are. Because these would be GPS coordinates that are in a slip of paper in Good Bryce's pocket.
To have this one condition met, we need Good Bryce on our team.
So previously on Journey Quest, the boys were on the road as professional wrestlers. They had literally brought the house down at their first debut performance. Genocide is not a term I would use lightly, but we do use it a lot here on Journey Quest. Genocide may have been committed. They ran into the Jerky King of West Texas, we think, who was actually supposed to be working for the syndicate. We don't know who the syndicate is yet, and he was told to offer the guys an opportunity, which was to smuggle an atomic bomb into Bryce Vegas. And in doing this, they were promised that they could have full replicate clones of their beloved ones, back. They could live the life they wanted to in this luxury community of Diamond Club Town Acres, and amazing place. And all they had to do was go kill Bryce in Bryce Vegas with this. And they were given help, which was replicant Bryce, I guess, because he's like, fully flesh and blood. So a replicant Good Bryce is along with them to help them out.
Yeah. And we discussed the idea, we're on our way out to Bryce Vegas. We don't have to just nuke them. I mean, as long as we depose, we're trying to figure out a surgical strike.
There were some pretty large promises made vis-a-vis what to do with the empty power vacuum of.
Well, no, we're gonna Dave this SOB.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what's happening. The new plan is we're gonna Dave Evil Bryce, because now we have our Dave. If you've never seen the movie Dave. The president's an a-hole, and he has a heart attack with a mistress, and so a presidential impersonator takes the job of the president, and then falls in love with the first lady. I don't want to spoil it, but we're gonna David. So we have our replicant Bryce that can act like evil Bryce. We just need to kill evil Bryce.
All right, now hold on. Or maybe induce a stroke in Evil Bryce. Maybe we could just get him to real mad so he pops his top, and then we take the body and we swap it out and put Good Bryce in there.
Am I now? I don't know how far my back my memory banks go. Was I known for getting over the top angry?
Well, I mean. Not in the days you would remember, good Bryce.
I see.
But apparently, future you, oh boy, he's a changed half man, half mech beast, all DJ, EDM, terror machine.
This is after.
Yeah. This is after.
Okay.
One time he shot a missile within the vicinity of Brian, and Brian, unsolicited, reached out his arm to grab it, and his arm ripped his hand right clean off.
Yeah.
All right.
That does sound like an evil thing for Bryce to have done.
Yeah.
Is making
almost like a warning shot. It wasn't even gonna hit him. Like he literally wanted to touch it.
I fail to see the relevance of this part of the discussion.
You just setting the baseline of how evil.
Hi, I'm just a guy standing on the street corner talking to you all before you get back in your RV and go on the road to Bryce Vegas with your bomb.
I thought we were on the road already. Sorry.
No, you stopped at get
gotcha.
gas
Okay.
at a post-apocalyptic gas station where you have to, we won't explain what you have to pay for gas.
It was a very expensive set piece. We had to shoot something here, so rather than have it on the RV.
Oh, I remember a girl came through this way, broke my heart. So, was there anything that led up to the break? Between back when Bryce was good and Bryce was bad. Was there any? I want to say sort of a maltreatment, maybe a Me Too moment from his employer?
Oh man. Hello, random stranger. Boy,
Just get your windows here. Don't mind me.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what you're insinuating, but he does bring up a good point, Justin. Do you think, maybe to help take down evil Bryce, we got to figure out what made him evil? Now, Bryce.
Okay. Yes.
You're still good Bryce.
Yeah.
And you have all the memories that original Bryce had, right?
I suppose so.
Is there latent trauma that you think would cause this to happen, or would you have to assume that some kind of external force would break you in a way that would cause you to become evil?
Pardon me for interrupting him, Sam. I take my payment in flies, and there's many on this RV, so you guys are going to be good. But if his employer is the one doing the asking about the trauma, sometimes victims may not come forward.
Yeah,
I was a licensed therapist before the apocalypse. Just saying. Anyhow.
So Bryce, is there anything about maybe your like work schedule or payment or anything like before the apocalypse that maybe have left some kind of latent trauma?
I mean, my memory banks don't detect anything out of a normal background level of tension and
sure,
So
simmering, constant tension.
It's just like your average Joe's tension.
Yeah. I fix good Bryce with a steely-eyed glare and ever so slightly shake my head.
Hey, Brian, why don't you say you go get us some squirts in the the general store over there? Right?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm gonna get a Diet Coke for me. You want anything, Justin? Are you good?
A couple. Give me a 6-pack of squirts.
Hey, Bryce. Is there anything you want to think about as I go in there? Anything? Anything I can make sure happens?
I'm good. I don't think that I eat.
All right, good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go get squirts. Bye.
Okay. This guy never offers me snacks.
All right. So Brian's gone.
Okay.
Obviously, look, you guys work together. That's
Hey guys, I got beef jerky too. It's not human beef jerky, not like the Jerky King. Any jerky? I know you don't need to eat,
I
Robo
still don't
Bryce.
think that I eat.
Right, just grab some for the road. In fact, go and double check to make sure there's not also
he says he doesn't eat, but he's actually feeling hungry because he is made of flesh and blood.
That's right.
I'm just the guy here. Why do you tell him that he doesn't need to eat?
I just assume, but I guess you're a therapist, so you would know a thing about replicants. So
I see a person standing before me who I think needs to eat, but here you're trying to deprive him of food.
I mean, he said he didn't need to eat.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I haven't had. I don't know if I've passed the amount of existence time to feel hungry yet.
They have.
If you could get me some Lays, in case I feel hungry.
Yes, and I'll get you Kit Kat. It's not sake flavored, but regular Kit Kats. Okay.
Okay.
So all right, listen, man, we need anything that we can do. I'll tell you what, even a good memory, a good memory, a bad memory, something that we can use to worm our way to bad Bryce, and then we kill him and install you in his place, and you now run an empire.
Do you want me to top off your washer fluid? And a phobia might be pretty good.
Oh yeah. No, anything, maybe some kind of traumatic memory that we can exploit.
Well, I seem to remember. I can't seem to remember much after the whole apocalypse.
Sure,
sort of thing. But I do remember like having a good moment right before something big was about to happen. Like we all got together in one place and we were all sharing our favorite memories of everybody, but it's still a little vague.
Hey, I'm back. Is it a funeral? Are you thinking of a funeral? Or was it a SpaceX launch?
I don't think it was I don't think that. No, I don't remember. No, I remember it being at here in Austin. I remember it being at a home. And we were all gathered together, and we were all waiting for something big to happen. But that's
like a birthday party or something.
Maybe it was a birthday party.
We're waiting for somebody to show up to but you were there, and me and Brian were there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being effing useless.
Sometimes trauma causes you to create false memories over the real memories. Never usually this vague, but, who's to say? Maybe at some other point, something will trigger, something will happen, and it'll all come back to him.
Hey, you don't happen to know hypnosis, do you? You said you're a therapist.
Why, yes, I do.
Would you mind throwing good robot replicant Bryce under hypnosis? Maybe we can get something out of this.
Is this how you treated the real Bryce?
No. Hey. This kidder. So anyway, can you do it on the sly, like without him realizing?
Yeah. Hey, Bryce, what's that? All right, go, do it now.
Hey, Bryce.
Yeah.
Watch this air freshener. Tell me what color you think it is. It goes back and forth. You smell the scent of the pine forest and feel as if you're walking among them. Why don't you sit down and take a nap in the forest and look up into the sky? There you go. That'll be 75 cents with the freshener, by the way.
Oh, right on. I
had to open it up out of the package. Something like that.
You still take flies in payment?
Yeah, I was going to say, I shake the therapist's hand, but I palm him 4 flies. and I say, keep the change.
I say, therapist, ask him whatever the right probing questions are, because you're the expert here.
Bryce, I want you to go way back into the forest, and you come across a clearing. And in that clearing, you see 2 people there. One is you. One is this, sir, what's your name?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I'm Brian.
Brian. One's Brian in front of you. Oh. It's a conversation. It's the trees are starting to shake and rattle. They're starting to shake and rattle. What are the words that he's saying that are making this happen?
Oh, I remember. He said, the bunker. Come to my bunker.
Come to your bunker. Interesting.
Bunker.
Do we want to explore the bunker? There's a cave up ahead. Let's go step inside the cave. Oh. There's a fire casting a glow on the walls. Just shadows. There's a shadow that looks like a Bryce shadow, and there's a shadow that looks like a Brian shadow. What are the shadows doing?
They're gesturing. They're talking. They're angry.
Is one more angry than the other?
Oh, yes. The Bryce shadow is way more angry.
Interesting. This has took a turn. Is there any violence here?
No, but it might be. The Brian is walking away?
All right. Okay.
Maybe.
Bryce, you're coming up. Oh, he's awake now. Sorry.
Hey, so anyway, like I always said, hypnosis is a fraud. We got to get back on the road. Thank you very much for the therapy and the window washing. Enjoy the flies. Hey, who wants jerky?
So you're back on the road. All we know now is there was some sort of traumatic event that took place. We don't quite know what happened. Cells interlinked within cells interlinked. Later in 2049 reference. I love this. Maybe it's nothing. Sometimes they're false memories. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they aren't. Anyhow, you're headed now. So what is your plan at this point?
Well, I mean, we got to get to Bryce Vegas no matter what, right, Justin? Right. I mean, whether we plan to assassinate.
Yeah, no, they're gonna try and kill our families or whatever, but we're gonna try and skim the information that they have. But push comes to shove, it's our job right now to go to Bryce Vegas to compete in a pro wrestling event, and while we're there, we're gonna try and Dave the real Bryce.
Yeah. And, okay, so I figure we'll get on over there. Do we want to, you know what? We got this nuke, and everyone's going to wonder why we're driving into town with the nuke. What if we make that part of our wrestling show?
On the side of it? Is that how people would notice? Because we got the big nuke van?
Well, no, okay, so here's what we do. First of all, I say we dress up this atomic bomb. We put some, like, what do you call those? Jacob's ladders and some Tesla coils and some pinwheels on it to make it look like a prop nuke, and we act like that's our gimmick. We you know, magicians say if you want to hide it, paint it red. So we'll come into town and we're like, we're here to nuke Bryce Vegas.
Because we're gonna change our names, and now we're Donnie Nuke and Jimmy Nuke.
Yeah,
the Nuke brothers.
The Nuke boys. Yeah,
The Nuke brothers.
the Nuke boys.
Couple of good old boys.
Yeah. The Nuke
all
dudes.
in nuclear arms, never meaning no harm.
Exactly. And
Who
then we're
you
both gonna
Duke
wear
boys?
tight-
I'll get you next time.
And so we're gonna be them Nuke boys, and we're gonna come in here to nuke. We're gonna nuke Bryce Vegas. Perfect. I love it. All right.
Hey boys, your manager here. Listen. I've been sitting in the RV the whole time eating this delicious beef jerky. I've been on the radio set talking around, and there's a lot of excitement about, you know, the appearance of these two new wrestlers from Texas showing up in Las Vegas. A lot of excitement. Teensy little bit of bad press, though. Teensy bit of bad press. It seems that there was going to be, like, you know, some fan favorites were going to be, like, you know, on the opening of the card, and you set them on fire. You know, anyhow, we need to build up. What's that?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, whatever. What do we need to build up?
We need to do a couple things to sort of build up, you know, your the fan love for you. Well, I mean, to get it from total wanting them to murder you to, like, at least, you know, maybe letting you set foot in Bryce Vegas. I got a plan. There's actually a children's hospital right up ahead on the right.
Okay.
Post-apocalyptic. The kids are kind of oozing a bit. You know, they're going to have green stuff coming there. But I got radio. On the radio, they said, hey, you know what? Why don't they go do an appearance there? Go shake some hands, shake some stumps, whatever, say hello to the kiddies, and sign some autographs and stuff. And word will get around. You know, the wrestling community, post-apocalyptic, really, it'll go over well.
This would be good PR. You guys have had a good track record with doing good stuff.
Yep. No, okay. I agree.
Also, we gotta hide fake Bryce.
Because otherwise
I got
they're gonna
luchador mask right here.
A luchador. Okay. That's right. That's great. Okay, so we got a luchador mask.
Or can we get like a scuba suit or something? It's like, you know, or maybe a mariachi outfit. Sunglasses.
There you go.
Perfect.
Sunglasses.
He just puts a mustache, pencils in a mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And from here on out, you're not Bryce. You're L Bryce Tio.
Actually, we call him Uncle Bryce Tio or
Uncle
Tio
Bryce
Bryce Tio.
Oh, yeah, Uncle Bryce Tio.
Tio Bryce Tio.
Uncle Tio Bryce.
This doesn't seem as
Just Tio.
conspicuous.
Just Tio.
Yeah, we'll just call him Tio. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, we've got a fun show for these kids. Let's go here. Let's go into the kids.
All right, you go into the ward. There are all these kids laying around. A lot of burn victims.
And I say, hey, kids, who likes...
The doctor comes out covered in blood like, oh, my God, thankfully, some entertainment here. I had, like, a school bus of burn victim children come into me from here. I have no idea where they came from. Have you heard anything?
I say, I've heard these kids are ready for a show. You kids ready for a show?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, kids.
He died from cheering for you, Brian. This little kid over here, Robbie, he died cheering for you, says one of the orderlies, just so you know.
Okay.
That should put a smile on your face, because he died smiling. Well, he
Got
died choking after he smiled.
Let's have all right, kids, sit down and open
He's
up
not
your
even a
ears.
patient. He was just a friend of one of the kids that's in here, so it's really kind of tragic.
We're going to tell a story about deferred consequences for your actions. Because every time you do something, it doesn't mean that you have a reaction immediately.
I go up to Brian. Do you want your fire eating sticks now, or do you want them after this?
I was like, you know what? I don't think the fire eating is going to play really well here with these burn victim kids. But I like the way you're thinking.
Sure, okay,
yeah. But I'll tell you what. See if you can find some rusted nails. I'll do the blockhead.
we can do that,
It'll be fine.
I'm sure a hospital has a lot of those.
Muchas gracias, Tio. Kids, Brian will tell you. You know,
this show sucks.
What was that?
This show sucks.
Hey, you want to know what else sucks? Life. But every once in a while, you can run away from it and complete your own objectives. Isn't that right, Brian?
Okay. We're going to tell a fun, interactive story. Let me get you, Johnny. Come over here. You're going to be our hero. And the hero has this plastic sword that I put in your hand. Now rattle your saber and say, I'm powerful.
I'm powerful.
That's great. Okay, and now we need little Johnny goes out into the magical forest when he encounters a village of elders, and he needs help from the elders, but the elders don't give him what he wants, so he chops up the village. Now chop up the village with your plastic sword. Good job.
I'm chopping the village.
Okay, good.
Eat that, Grandma.
And then Johnny goes on to the next village, and he still needs some stuff. And the second village doesn't have what he wants. So what does he do?
Murder them all.
He chops up the village. Chop up the village.
Chop, Johnny, chop.
That's right. Okay, great. And then one day his sword broke. So he got a new sword. This one was called an atomic bomb. And he goes to the third city, the biggest city of them all. And he has things he wants, but he doesn't know if they're going to have it. What do you think is going to happen if the city doesn't give him what he wants?
I'm going to chop them with my nuclear bomb.
Hey, that's a good story with a good lesson we can all relate to.
You say this, you notice over in the corner there's a very large patient, somebody under a sheet, and you can't see their face, but you're noticing somebody in the corner a little suspicious.
Hey, by the way,
boom! He pops up with a gun. Greetings from Bryce Vegas, and starts shooting up the whole hospital ward. Clips good Bryce in the shoulder. He's firing on everybody, shooting at children. He's trying to shoot at you guys, but you're using children as shields.
Ideal Steel. I rev up my chainsaw hand and immediately dive at him, and I say,
he's reloading. I'm gonna get you.
As I dive at him, I said, that was supposed to be a metaphor, you poor watcher of my story. And then I stab the chainsaw into him.
I run cover for Tio and try to drag him back to the vehicle.
Blood spurt. You will never make it to Bryce Vegas.
All right, I chop off his head, and then I hold up the head for the surviving children to see, and I say, who?
The two kids, the two surviving children.
I say to the two, I say, great magic trick or greatest magic trick? And then I drop the head, and we run out to the car.
By the way, it was just the hotel staff and the kids. There was no press or anything.
No, there was press, but they got killed.
They got killed. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Real quick, I write in their notebooks. Best show ever, just on all of them, and then
we also record ourselves with one of their cameras. And I say right into the camera, we know what your argument was about before the apocalypse. So that gets back to Bryce. We know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. And good Bryce is there going, bunker, why can't I stay?
Oh yeah. Oh shit. All right. Sorry. New take two. We know what happened in the bunker. And so that's
good. Bryce is like, Brian kicked me out during the apocalypse. Had to survive on my own.
Take three. We know what you did to get kicked out of the bunker.
Forgot his favorite granola bar.
Leave it at take three. Take three is as best as we're gonna get. Let's just leave that there, and we'll see if we can. Is there any way that we can communicate with is there any satellites or anything that we can beam that to the news station or any of the press that's there?
Good Price, check your phone. I think we get cell phone signal here.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we upload to We're there. We're doing like a little thing. Like, look at what the goons of Bryce did to these poor children. Burned them nearly alive, and then came to finish the job. This is the horror, but we know where it comes from. Bryce, meet us. Meet us at the border of Bryce, Vegas, and we can bring an end to these hostilities because we know what happened in the bunker.
And then I popped my head in and I was like, and then make sure to stick around for our awesome wrestling show. It's going to be a huge event.
Next time on Journey Quest. I feel sorry for people who just tune in.
Like, oh my God. How confusing.
What is this idiotic thing?
You guys want to do picks?
Yeah, let's do picks.
I got a pick.
What you
got? Paddington 2 was delightful. What a great kids movie that adults had a lot of fun at. It's great. There's a reason it's got 100% Rotten Tomatoes in that it's generally unoffensive. But Hugh Grant was hilarious, and the setup on it was funny. Oftentimes they have to get creative after the first kids movie and start adding wacky characters and stuff, so it gets a little sloppy. None of this. It was tight. It was just a separate adventure, and Paddington is the center of all that's right in the universe.
Sweet.
I am going to pick American Vandal.
Yay!
A bunch of people loved it. I watched it this weekend, and I burned through it, man. I went through it really, really quick. There's a moment in American Vandal which gets you in the door with the idea that this is Serial with a kind of the seriousness of Serial or Making a Murderer with a one-note joke of, a high school prank. But the care and effort that is put into this internal universe is remarkable. I think that the characters that they draw are, even though, they're juvenile, they're high school kids, but they're realistic and fun to the point where you wind up, feeling bonded to them. But also, by the end of it, has this like very real moment that I don't want to spoil, but like said more about the actual experience that I had of being a journalist than any of, and I haven't seen The Post, but I'm assuming that it is another film in the well-worn genre of, battle Christs that have fit into newsrooms and bring the objective capital T truth by way of capital J journalism that involves a lot of hand slapping on desks and whiteboards. But this was a real kind of moment about what it means to stir up people's lives for finding a story, right? And I think that it was kind of amazing. I was continually impressed with not only the internal universe, but then eventually kind of the larger element that it was trying to say with, I think the point they were making was like, what does it mean when people that aren't necessarily seasoned journalists wade into these waters? But I think it was kind of a larger commentary on just what it means to find things and make them public. So great job. American Vandal, I recommend it.
I don't want to spoil it, but is the moment you're talking about the thing that happens in the party at the very end?
Yeah, there's a conversation between two people at a party. Yeah.
That was also, I think, the strongest moment for me in that it really like gives the whole season sort of a moral on true crime sort of stories like that. Yeah, I think you nailed it. And
I guess that's the thing is like that's everything. I mean, I one time when I was editor-in-chief of the Daily Orange, I had to sit on the phone for an hour with a basketball player who was not happy about the fact that we were writing a very flattering story on him. Like it was about his family and his upbringing and how hard he worked, and his mom willfully got on the phone and talked about, how proud of her son she was and everything. It was fairly, when you read it, it was fairly unremarkable. He's a private guy, didn't want any of it out there. Didn't want to talk about his mom, or didn't want his mom talking to the paper, wanted us to spike the story. And I literally just had to be on the phone for an hour while he called me all kinds of names and called the reporter all kinds of names, because that's what the job is on some level. He can not talk if he wants to, but if a lot of other people want to say nice things about him, that's what the audience wants to hear, right? And that's on a very, very small scale, but like those elements are real, and to me they are far more real than these myths of the big story that, you know, with the conspiracies and, you know, finally speak truth to power. Like, those are cool, but by and large they are these guiding myths that kind of journalists, I think, rely too much on, and certainly the mythology of journalism, I think, relies too much on, where that moment and those moments in general, I think, they're the fabric of actually doing that job.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Fine.
I spent like a half hour trying to talk Andrew into watching it.
Oh,
really? I watched the first part. I'm like, yeah, it's clever. It's good. I get it.
Well, and to be honest, it reminds me a lot of trying to get people to do the Vive VR, because you say, hey, have you done the Vive before? And they're like, no, but I've done, you know, I've seen 3D, whatever. You put on the goggles and they're 3D. And it's like, no, you got to do it. And then, and likewise, like, even just watching the beginning of American Vandal, you're like, yeah, I get it. It's going to be this one joke the entire time. And it's like, no. It's going to surprise you with depth and arcs and stories and a cast of characters that will become real in your mind, expertly written, expertly performed by kids. I mean, by young people. It's great.
Well, I mean, they're definitely like TV high school.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
So it's all like kids in their early 20s that are pretending to be 16.
I think Dylan in that show, the accused, is like a YouTuber.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, Bryce, you have a pick?
I got a little pick. I started this today because I had seen a lot about it at conventions, and now it's out. It's called Gorogoa. Have you guys heard this at all? Maybe.
No.
I saw that at what's it called last year? I saw that at PAX South last year.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. Oops. It's a puzzle game that has this like comic pain visual aesthetic. So you just have these 4 squares where you can put these illustrations, and you tap on them to go in and out and scroll around, and it's all done in this visual storytelling way of trying to do something with this dragon, and you're going in and out of all of these worlds. It's really cool, and I think as an adventure game that intentionally says, you know, that has no words and is trying to tell everything visually, it's really successful in that there is a lot of depth to it. The puzzles start off pretty easy because they're kind of showing you how the game works, but there really is a lot of internal logic that goes into the different story beats, and it's also just gorgeous. We're kind of seeing some of the illustrations now on the stream, but it's a really gorgeous game, and it works really well on touchscreen devices. So I think it's like $5 on iOS, and then like 10 or 15 on PC and consoles, and it's on the Switch right now. So I think it's really cool, and if you like adventure games, check out Gorogoa.
Puzzle games, right?
Puzzle games. Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of. I guess puzzle's probably more accurate. I see the two as similar, like classic adventure games. Yeah.
I love like Missionarium and some of those other like just straight up like do it at your leisure, investigate whatever kind of things. So those, I look forward to this. I love that kind of thing. And there's a new The Room, you know, the one of the box, you know, puzzle box one.
Yeah, I think that's the 4th Room.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Those are all real good games.
Oh, hi, Mark.
My pick is a futile and stupid gesture.
Oh, that was recommended to me after I finished Polka King.
Polka King, yeah.
Yeah. So futile and stupid gesture is
largely the story of Doug Kinney, who was one of the founders of National Lampoon. First was with Harvard Lampoon, and then created National Lampoon with Beard and others, and Hoffman. And they admittedly like have changed or condensed it to tell the story, but it's mainly about Doug Kinney. Very interesting, very, very interesting. I enjoyed it. I knew nothing about the guy. And I liked going into it not knowing anything about it, and sort of the devices and things like that in which they were using to tell the story, which kind of made it even cooler. And there's a moment at the beginning I was very confused, and I quickly forgot that I was confused. And then later on, I'm like, oh, okay, got it. So anyhow, click on the director. Click on David Wayne's IMDb.
Oh, sure.
David Wayne, one of my favorites, man. David Wayne from the state, who has done so much stuff, including Wet Hot American Summer and everything past that. Role Models. He's amazing.
Yeah. So you've got somebody who has done a lot of really great comedy, who gets it, who's probably very connected to the stories in many ways. And National Lampoon was a phenomenon when it came out. And, they make a point, and it's kind of really clear, is like, they had this, they wanted to do a radio show. So they got some very talented people, and they had John Belushi, Bill Murray, Brian Doyle Murray, Gilda Radner. And when, some Canadian carpetbagger decided to do it, they got approached by NBC to do a show, like a comedy show, and they're like, meh. And then some Canadian carpetbagger named Lorne Michaels decided to do one. And who did he hire? John Belushi, Bill Murray, Brian Doyle Murray, Gilda Radner, and the roots of SNL were in National Lampoon. In the live events they did, the Lemmings, which is the group that did the Lemmings, was this live show they did, which was presented kind of like as an apocalyptic Woodstock, where everybody gathered together to kill themselves. And imagine John Belushi on stage as your kind of folk cult leader, leading you into that as a piece of entertainment. So,
right on.
That's my pick. So,
dude, that looks great. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you get into, there's a documentary. There's also another documentary in National Lampoon that gets more into that. But anyhow, so that's my pick. So, gentlemen, it's been weird.
Cool, yeah. Take a short break, and then we'll do after things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Man, sorry the coughing is so much worse than I even feared.
Yeah. Hopefully they didn't get picked up too much. You know what I went and saw over the past week?
Mm-hmm.
Was Call Me by My Name.
Oh, it was good.
It was good. I think it was good. It wasn't like great.
I forgot to mention,
but it was nice.
That Paddington 2 I saw at the movie theater across the street.
Oh, is it open now?
Yeah.
Oh, is it good?
And it's the first of its kind. I'll give it a full review during Cord Killers, because it's there's kind of two categories. There's traditional movie theaters, right?
Sure.
And then there's the Alamo Drafthouse experience, and others that are trying to do that. This one's interesting because it apes some of the structures, but not others.
Yeah. My understanding from one of those articles, I think Jason Murphy found, was like it has food and drink, but you take it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
is interesting.
But also they've decided, and this is another interesting thing, like their movie selection. If you take a look what they got right now, a lot of arty stuff, and the traditional movie experiences, you see nothing but crass advertisements for Coke beforehand.
Oh, right.
But look at this. Like I, Tonya, The Post, 3 Billboards, Shape of Water. This is not rural Texas fare that you would expect, right?
Sure. I mean, this is like, I go to a Regal all the time, and this is pretty much the same stuff that they get there.
Yeah. Well, so
it's not second run movies,
But when I went in, they showed they didn't have a curated pre-show quite the way. To be honest, it reminded me of the way of the pre-shows, the way the Drafthouse used to do them, which really excited me. We didn't get there early enough for us to see much, but basically we walked in and it was playing the iocane powder scene from The Princess Bride. And in its entirety, just the entire 5-minute scene, and then they played Get Happy, the Happy Product, that short film. Have you seen it?
It sounds really familiar.
If you do a search for Happy Product Bliss or something,
sure.
You'll see a single frame and you'll know the one I'm talking about. But it is a devastatingly poignant and
I don't think it's the Julie Garland
song.
I'll keep talking. But that was
right. Product. There you go. Happy Product. That's the one. Yeah. Nope.
That's the
this is they're advertising their new thing, I guess. Nope.
No, this is
Studio. Yeah, go back up. I think that was it.
Milo Xyloto?
No, go up a little bit. More. That's the one. Have you seen this?
No. I don't remember this.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute short film, and it's utterly lovely and makes you cry, and it's I thought it was a bold choice to play those before Paddington.
Did you need a break, Brian?
You know what? I will run to the restroom because I'm sucking down these Gatorades.
Gotcha.
1 second.
I just got sent from the Mystery Writers Association a button I can put on my website that says Edgar Award nominee.
Ooh.
Hey!
Very nice. That was 5 days ago. I don't believe we've got a letter for today. Just a heads up. But I went and saw Call Me by Your Name a couple days ago.
So not over the moon for it.
Well, there's I think for like a gay romance film, it is better than average. But I don't think it elevates.
That sounds like damning with faint praise.
Well, it's a genre that is like full of, like, you know, it's just I think I referred to it as unending gay death of just just full of like the most amount of trauma and depression, and this Call Me by Your Name doesn't truck in that nearly as much.
So on a scale of My Own Private Idaho, Brokeback Mountain, or Jeffrey, so I named like the only 3 ones I've ever seen.
I know. I thought, oh man, I've seen one of those.
What's that? Oh, you haven't? You're missing. Those are fantastic.
I've only seen Brokeback. I think it was good, and it did make me cry, and it is an interesting story. It's, I don't know. It was just not all the way there for me.
Yeah. I got into film, and I decided I had to see everything, art house films and all that. Mm-hmm. And I took a girlfriend to go see My Own Private Idaho.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of it, she's like, "Why did you take me to that?" I'm like,
it's Gus Van Sant, honey. He's one of the up and coming young Turks of the movie industry.
Why did you take me to that? I'm like, and so in her mind, she's like, is he trying to tell me something?
Oh. All right.
Although that lesson did not stop Andrew from taking me as a teenager to go see a John Waters movie in the gay theater in Fort Lauderdale. That was the only place that the John Waters movie was playing.
Yeah, it was the only place. What were we supposed to do?
Demented, we had to go to that, but it definitely looked like the I was being ferried by my sugar daddy to the movies.
It was one of the things. It wasn't until we sat down in this theater and I look over and we see like some drag queens come in there and sit in the corner, and I'm like, man, the optics on this aren't so good.
No, it's not that they're not good. They're very clear. they were fucking HD.
Oh god. Oh god. That was I'm like
I'm actually curious to go see Call Me by Your Name though, Bryce, because I'm curious your opinion as I think that there's a lot of, I mean, it seems like it's kind of getting that Moonlight kind of a buzz that Moonlight got last year, where it's like, I love Moonlight. I loved 2/3 of Moonlight. I think that 1/3 of Moonlight is markedly not as good as the other 2/3, and that nobody wanted to talk about it because it's more of an important movie than it is a great movie. And I long for the time when we can discuss these things by separating them.
And I think comparing it to Moonlight is a good reference point, in that I think Call Me by Your Name is more indulgent and is not nearly as important.
Well, speaking of which, I'm working on a biopic story about my friend to the Justin. It's called Call Me by Your Ren Fair Name.
Yes.
That too on the nose? Too, yeah.
Are you guys ready to just do a little bit of after things?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
What was it that we were holding off and saving for after things? What was this?
Spam phone calls?
Oh, why we hate Brian. Yeah. Why Brian should really feel horrible about himself.
That's right.
All right, well, then take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello.
Justin Robert Young.
Yo!
And our producer is Mr. Bryce Castillo.
Hi, everybody.
So we were talking about something right before we started Weird Things, which was picking up the phone, not picking up the phone, filtering phone calls, doing all this sort of stuff. And that becomes increasingly a problem because, like, if I see it's my friend calling, I pick up the phone. If I don't recognize the number, I don't. The exception is, like, sometimes if I'm waiting for a call from, let's say, like one of my agents or something like that, and the number looks
getting a spam phone call right now because it has the same prefix as mine. You want me to take it?
Sure.
Hello.
Hi, this is Greg. I'm calling from the Healthcare Enrollment Center in regards to your inquiry for health insurance. So we know there's been a lot of confusion with all the changes happening.
And then off it goes.
Not even a person.
Jesus. Like why ever? It's that all day every day. All day every day. It's never money.
I've said before, and sometimes it's worse and sometimes it's better, but like there are times where I think phones are just corrupted tech. Like I should just find different ways for my friends and family that call me to figure out a way to do it.
Part of the problem is it's a problem, but it's a profit center for phone companies, and it's like mail. It's like you open up your mailbox, you get all this junk mail. Who delivered this to you? Well, the government, because it helps pay for the rest of the mail, I guess. But it's like, maybe raise the cost of the rest of the mail and problem solved. I don't know. But then it's like, well, then it's going to be fewer jobs, fewer this. And it's like, all right, it's one of these things like, there's a lot of inconvenience here. That maybe we could do without.
Well, a lot of it comes from the fact that all these robocall centers are using number spoofing, which is why they make it look like it's your same phone number, or sorry, your same zip code or area code, or your actual phone number. I've gotten plenty
you got
that
a
are
call
like,
from yourself?
Not from myself, but it's like 6 of the 7 digits are my own phone number.
Yeah.
And that makes it a trouble. So like I use Mr. Number to like kind of try to weed out scam and fraud phone calls.
But for those who don't know, what's Mr. Number?
It's one of those apps that plugs into the iPhone like operating system. It's on the App Store, and they have a database of like, hey, these are numbers that are usually frauds, and it checks other numbers and stuff. There's a lot of different ones out there, but the problem is that with the phone spoofing that these services do, they look like legitimate phone numbers. They are legitimate phone numbers, and if you try to call them back, you'll probably get a person on the other end who's confused and doesn't know what you're talking about, because they've just been able to make it up, and that's where a lot of the problem comes in, is that there's literally no way to block that until you turn off that technology.
Yeah.
And it's a solvable thing that could be solved from the way they tell. And you've heard these exclamations like, well, no, the problem is like, no, it's a solvable problem, but it's a profit center. It's a big profit center for them to do those. And that's, it would be a solved problem if they were losing money from it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all the more reason. It's like, yeah, like I love like I love iChat. I use that a lot. And every now and then, I get something go spoof, but it's really, really hard and expensive to try to send spoof iChats. You can send SMS to go through, but, blue bubbles versus green bubbles. I filter my email. I go through that. One of the advices I gave to a friend who just started a company was go to Google Voice, get a free number from Google Voice. If you load Google Voice for your iPhone or your Android, you can get a free phone number. And then you can just use that. And when you give phone numbers out, just use that number. And that gives you a tremendous amount of control. And then people, your closer friends, like having those two different numbers is super helpful. So that was my advice I was going to say before the show.
Yeah. I don't know, though. So as far as an after things question, especially when you get started, all you want is to be as available as possible for anyone interested in whatever your entrepreneurial thing is. You want that phone to ring, and you want it to be possible money on the other side. When do you make the call to make yourself less available? I guess that's the bigger question.
And you are very willing to pan for gold. Like if somebody kind of accidentally hears about you, but you have a chance to kind of talk them into the tent, like, fine, cool, great. Let me just get me on the phone with anybody, get me emailing, get me in contact with literally anybody that can do literally anything for me.
Well, the first is like I advise like doing a separate number because it doesn't limit the number of people that get to you. It just makes it easier for you to control that and to know, oh, this is coming from my business number, this is my personal number, or you're like, hey, it's my business number and I know who I gave this out to. That's fine. I think the answer is sort of, we talked about this before, like when do I go pro as a magician? When you're booked so much that it interferes with your day job. When you're like, man, I have to turn down paid gigs, so I can do the thing that doesn't pay as much or isn't as, long-term lucrative. I think it's the same thing with this. It's like you reach a point where like, man, more people are trying to get a hold of me than I can handle. And then you're like, now I'm going to filter.
Yeah, that's part of why, I still keep my toll-free number. Man, when they opened up the 866 exchanges almost 20 years ago, wow, I think it was 2001, 2002, I nabbed 866 4 Magic 4 and 866 Eat Fire. And now, for a while, I've just had them all forward to my cell phone. But now I've had to construct a phone maze for people to go through to sort of weed out, who's calling just, like, oh my gosh, is this really Brian Brushwood? Versus, hi, we're Proctors in Schenectady, New York. We'd like to book you for a performing arts stage show. But I think there's still value to having those, and because actually the credit card stopped charging on them, and I had to decide, well, do I just want to let him go? Why? I mean, who does a toll-free thing? But ultimately, I decided, if it's $22 a month, and it gives a. I realized if I didn't have those, then people would just figure out my real cell phone number and call that directly, and I would have fewer filtering mechanisms.
But yeah, I mean, it's that extra hoop somebody has to go through is always. It's a filter that drops off a lot of people. It's like my philosophy is like, I'm easy to reach. My attention is hard to catch.
Correct.
That's so it's like, yeah, I'm, my email, it's out there, andrew@andrewmain.com. Like I'm out there. I'm not hard to reach. I just, if I go through, if I go check, my 30, 40 email messages in the morning and I see this, like, I'll try to remember to get back to this. If I don't. And I know there are people I try to get a hold of that they don't respond and I don't get upset. I'm like, I get it. It's not a personal thing. It's like, you don't know what happened is how inundated people are. And you go through periods where all of a sudden every phone call you had made, in the past year comes through in 2 weeks of people getting back to you. And now you got a triage. So, but again, my advice is if you want, go to use a Google Voice, get one of those free phone numbers to start with. It's a great way to filter stuff. It's a great way to, put that out there. It lets you kind of control, and then it lets you know where the calls are coming from. You can do cool things with it, have it automatically go to voicemail, etc. That's step number one. But yeah, my phone's always on silent. My phone does not ring. My phone vibrates, and that's it. I put it by my bed when I charge it, and then when I go to sleep at night, I put it right on my nightstand, right next to my head, because in the morning, I have an agent on the East Coast. I'm going to get calls there. I'll look and I'll check, and then ignore them. I had a call that I thought was coming through somebody there, and it wasn't. It was other spam this morning. I'm like, Rah.
Yeah, that was, man, I remember the only time I really been gotten by that spam was right when the Kickstarter was happening, and we were like doing, a lot of press outreach and everything. And it was like the day that it launched, like all of a sudden there was, I think I might have still been at Nertacular too. I get a phone number and it was from LA or New York, and I forget which one. But I'm like, oh, media. And I like jumped up and ran away. And I'm like, hello. We've just been informed that you don't have health care. If you would like health care, press 1. It's always healthcare. I mean, it's all that. It is the healthcare market, for whatever reason, is the one that just insane robocalls. Insane.
Well, it's the high. If you get somebody to switch a plan, whatever the payoff, it's such a high. Whenever there's that, if you're getting somebody to commit to thousands of dollars a year in payments, the percentage for getting that customer is a lot. So 29. It is January 29th. 29 days since I went into Facebook.
I am proud of you. And I guess I got invited to the Whiskey Tribe Facebook group, and they actually made a whole scene of mocking me for not responding to the invitation. So I made like my one token appearance on Facebook for the month, and I outside of that, I don't think I've logged into Facebook intentionally for 2 or 3 months now.
Man, I check Facebook probably once a day, and it is just a fruitless experience almost every time. And part of it has been looking to spread further with like the politics content, and love or hate Facebook. There's one thing that gets attention, and that is talking about politics, and that's something that I'm moving more and more into. But, oh, Christ on a cracker. Is it just 9 alerts, 8 of which I have no idea what is going on. Then a bunch of things that are disguised to look like alerts that are there to honeypot me to make more moves that will surely bring me more alerts. 19,000 groups that I've been added to without taking any action. And then, of course, there's just Facebook Messenger, which on one hand, I think is a very, very good product. I would like to use it if it were not connected to Facebook, where it is just another way that people can get in touch. And sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's bad. Oh, also, God forbid you want to add somebody, because now not only do you, add them, you also get another alert in Facebook Messenger letting you know that indeed you are now connected with this person you just liked on Facebook and Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, and what's funny is Facebook is phenomenally bad on all sides of the equation. I don't enjoy it as a consumer because it's too noisy and too grabby of my attention. I don't like it as a producer because they hold my own contacts hostage and demand cash to reach them. They have shown themselves, like, I fell for every one of Facebook's early moves. Facebook new platform. Great. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's start building up followers. Oh, you hit a maximum of 5,000. Too bad for you. And I was like, well, crap, what am I going to do? I guess I have to start unfriending some people. And they're like, wait, we're here to save the day. For no charge, we're going to flip you over to a business account, which is a magical thing. We'll take all your contacts, and now you'll be able to reach them through the business account. Great. So I did that, and then got up to like eventually 36,000 likes or whatever. But shortly after doing that, they turn around and they're like, oh, psych, you shouldn't have done that. You should have just stayed an individual because now you can follow individuals. And I'm like, well, can I go back? And they're like, nope, just start a new individual account. And then on top of that, they start charging to reach your own people. And I just, there's no aspect of Facebook that provides any value or does anything good. I think it's a cancerous, repugnant, walled garden cesspool that is a time waster. And I'm sure somebody out there has made money. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask? So, all of that, yes, right? It sucks if you are making stuff and you're trying to get the word out,
right?
Do you, I am in a similar boat where I don't use Facebook very much. I maybe go on it once or twice a day to see if, for some reason, I've been tagged in something.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't post much to it socially. Like, I never post to it to try to get the word out about anything that I'm doing, because I know that I don't use it enough for that to be anything. But do you guys actually use it in a familial sense, like as a social network?
There's a cross section of my life that only does Facebook.
Right.
Like, I know if I want to get to the people that didn't get on the rest of the tech revolution, they got on Facebook. Because like my family, my friends who aren't tech people, like, that's where, if I want to share something that I like want my friends and family to know, it's the only place I would post stuff like that.
I know this is not a nail in, a solution really to much of the discussion, but that I think is where Facebook continues to, like, it is for people to talk about all of their like interpersonal stuff. I think Facebook has gotten a lot better about showing me that stuff versus like, here's a video of someone making an omelet that looks like Bane from Batman.
That was my favorite Bane omelet video.
Or like, hey, here's the very first thing on your timeline is an ad for like Harry's razors. And it's like, well, can you show me something real first?
Like, take me to dinner first. Jesus.
I mean, I think as creators, Facebook is tough because Facebook is trying to stem the exact same tide that we're having as people who want to use Facebook as maybe both types of platforms, but they're having to deal with that with the people who are just using it, as an everyday non-creator type of an account. I think it's tough.
There are people spot for whom do well with it. Andrew, I assume, I don't know if all of us are following, but there was a guy, nice guy by the name of Rick Lax that, back in the day with iTricks, we used to do interviews with him every once in a while. Like, he wrote a couple books. He's a cool dude. Started doing these videos on Facebook at a Starbucks with like a webcam, doing webcam magic basically. And now, oh my God, he just launched another account that's basically just him slapping his logo on other viral videos on Facebook, and it is my entire feed right now. Like, is all just either Rick. He has a series where he's like scamming his landlord out of rent by doing, scams and magic tricks and stuff like that, or it's a bunch of other videos that has like Rick Lax has friends at the bottom, where it's like, hit whatever it needs to be for virality success.
And I've been missing all this.
If you have not seen it, and this is no dick on Rick, who's a good guy, but like, it's fine. You're living a more productive life.
I like Rick. I like Rick. Rick is sometimes his own worst enemy in some ways, but he is very, very, when he gets onto something, he really pursues it full speed.
Super hard work.
What's that?
Super hard work.
Yeah, absolutely hard. I respect that. And it's like, there's a thing. People are doing a thing, and it's great. There's a thing, and I did Facebook live chats for a while, and then Facebook started playing around with how the algorithms worked and all this, and I'm like, I hate this. I don't. And I'm like, yep. I don't. I'll use this tentatively. But I don't trust Facebook. Like, yep, don't trust Facebook. And it was like, this is why I don't like it. And they always do something that's, again, they have a business. They have a right to exist. They do what it does. I feel far more productive because I don't go on there. I remember when they had Messenger was part of Facebook, the Facebook app, and I used the Messenger a little bit, and they split it off into its own separate thing. And I'm like, no, I liked it when I can go in, I could check up on, what was going on in the feed and check my messages. Now you're trying to separate this to make me go into messages too and do this because it's another place to advertise. You're trying to increase the amount of my time you waste. You've made my time even more inefficient. I'm like, no, I'm done. That, and as Brian's pointed out, when we watched we were told to go to Pages, we go to Pages, and next thing you know, we're like, oh yeah, you have to pay to reach this. And I'm like, for one post to reach those people is an entire month of a MailChimp account.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just screwed me, Facebook. You just screwed me over. And I get frustrated because I'll deal with, my people I'm working with books and stuff to market. Like, oh, we want to do Facebook this. I'm like, you're making your own job more difficult. You're making your own job more difficult
by doing this. There are other ways. There are better routes to do this. I know you guys sit around with Facebook open all day and you think that's the world, but that's not the world. That's not really how things get moved as much. It's a big platform to advertise. I've used it to advertise and it's worked out pretty well, but because there's a lot of captive people there. You know,
yeah.
Snickers bars and go really far in North Korea. You know,
I mean, I think that's the most agonizing part. Is as done as I want to be with Facebook, I can't look you in the eye and say that there's not a good chance sometime this year I'm not going to spend $1,000 for the privilege of pretty please allow me to say a message to people who have already indicated they want to hear what I have to say.
But that's different. I mean, that's us saying that, yeah, there are all these suckers waiting there. And not that you're a sucker if you use Facebook. I mean, but it's just the idea from an advertising point of view. And I get it. And for some people, you know, my mom, people like this, like, yeah, they want to check this thing up. They, you know, retirees and stuff. What are you going to do? Go on Facebook. It's fine. You know, but if you're young and you're hungry, or you're just hungry and hardworking, it doesn't matter if you're young, if you're 70 and you're out there and you're eager to make a name for yourself and do stuff, the less time you spend trying to do that in Facebook, the better. And you know, bless Rick Lax and what he's doing, but how many YouTubers do you know, Brian, with 1 million followers who can't pay rent?
Oh, sure. Well, and that's the challenging thing is because, you know, how do you monetize attention? You know, attention is a valuable commodity, but only if you have a structure. And keep in mind, I'm not going to claim like I've solved it. I think we've made some smart steps here on the show. We, you know, figured out that Patreon is a way to take attention and figure out the top 10, 5, 2, even 1% of listeners who are so in love that they want to directly contribute. That's great. Advertising is another way, but of course you got stuff like the Adpocalypse and so on. You've got many people build a platform so that they can sell a service. There are popular YouTube channels that are hilarious videos from air conditioner companies. And all they do is they play Happy and they have a bunch of white people dancing. And it's like, oh, they're so delightfully awkward and friendly. Oh, and my AC is out. I should maybe call them. So figuring out to build a platform to get that works. And of course, with scam stuff and the Modern Rogue Shop, we're trying to sell products related to a particular lifestyle that we're trying to portray. But who I feel bad for are people who think they can get away with just being an artist. And I just want to do my thing and then be popular for that thing and then have grown-ups make it turn into money.
But
and it's like
that was the promise. And even, you know, Colleen, our friend, who at that time was at Google and was at YouTube. She's like, look, this is the ideal. Let you do the thing, get the eyeballs. We're the most popular advertising platform. We will get you the money. That's the new ideal. I mean, that was not a popular myth. Like, that was the internal ideal.
And I always had a problem with that because I was always like, there's a finite size for the advertising budget that increases that people will spend, and it increases a little over a year and you get other people to advertise. You keep dividing that. And my argument, like, well, YouTube, and I pointed out, and I don't think this may be true now, but like up until like 2 years ago, CBS made more money on advertising than all of YouTube. People are like, oh, well, it's CBS. I'm like, no, look at how big YouTube is. You know, how many billions of hours of content, how many millions of people are creating content for it every day, and still one network, you know, and the huge ever expanding band of content out there still made more money on advertising. Okay. People magazine, okay, you see this, oh, old print's dead, sort of, but in some people didn't get that memo. BuzzFeed, super popular, right? Okay, People magazine makes more money in ad revenue than all of BuzzFeed. It's like, what does that tell you? It's like, oh yeah, it's harder and harder and harder to make that money because it gets divided smaller and smaller, it gets automated and whatnot, which is fine. But the biggest problem is these environments where your attention is what's being sold. And I hate, like, you go to mainstream, like I'm gonna go to CNN, right? CNN's, you know, well-known brand. We've all heard of it. You know, you go to CNN and you're like, you know, there's your attention thing. All of the little, you know, the little pseudo ads and stuff that kind of come up there, and they've gotten better and worse about that. But you scroll right through to the Outbrain stuff, which blends right in with their articles. Right in with the articles. Looks like this. It says paid content, but hey, how blockchain technology can impact the global oh, they cut off. I've got to see what they said, you know. it's all this clickbaity stuff that's right in the middle of what they're doing.
And there you go. Right up, in fact, I think right above it too, we got pictures and everything.
Yeah, and this is what the reputation of this is. This is where they are now. This is what we are. We're like, yeah, we know we will let these people mislead you because we got to pay we got to pay for putting out what we're doing, and getting into social media sites where it's absolutely the worst. Where whatever they're trying to do, like you see the constant ways they try to approach you because they think they have a read on you, and this thing Obama did will disgust you. I'm like, not clicking, not getting me to do that. And
that's I would, if there's a silver lining, I would like to believe it's that people are becoming more savvy to those easy triggers, those easy recipes. A bunch of people when we first started doing the Modern Rogue, some of the projects we were like, you guys make your videos too long and it's too much of you talking. What you should do is just shorten them, do them daily, blah, blah, blah. Be like the king of random. And it's like, look, Grant's a great person and a good friend, and I'm super happy for all of his success. But in all respect, we understand that turd sandwiches are very popular. We understand that turd sandwiches get you trending and get you on the top of Reddit. We know the recipe for turd sandwiches. We're just not interested in making turd sandwiches. If you want turd sandwiches, literally look anywhere else on YouTube and you'll be happy to find them.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's like there's a point where you realize if you put work into something, you see reward, and you look around you at all the different things you could put work into. I mean, like, when I was in my early 20s, I had a friend that was an investment banker, and I used to talk to this guy about, business stuff and all that. He's like, if you want to get into this, I'll help you, get your degree, whatever. I can get you set up a firm, whatever. Cause I had an interest in business. I could talk about, I love talking about that. And I was like, huh. And I thought about this. I'm like, well, what do investment bankers make? And he laughed. And he's like, don't worry, you'd be fine. It was like the idea of, I'd be a millionaire by the time I was 30 or whatever. And then I thought like, I'd have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, take a subway into Manhattan, go work all day doing that, wearing a suit, do this, go through that routine and doing everything else they did. And I'm like, you know what? I like sleeping in. I like doing my thing. Money is not my motivation. And so people are like, oh, you should do this. I'm like, why? You'd make money. Like, I know how to make money, and I want to make money doing the things I like, not doing things that just because I'm trying to scam somebody or get rich quick or whatever. And there are situations in life.
I have to say that lifestyle is bad, because if you are an investment banker, you can support us at Patreon.com.
Yeah. Also, as long as we're making corrections, please let me make it clear that I was not calling Grant Thompson, the King of Random's content, a turd sandwich. Just that there are predictable algorithms that generate successful YouTube channels, and that's not what we wanted to do with the Modern Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Some people just want to do a thing. I'm like I just tell me where to go, connect the widgets, and I want to do that. Or I'm having fun. The process is more interesting. The outcome. That's fine. Everybody's got their own choices. So a lot of times you get people like, oh, you should do this, whatever. Follow your passion. Figure out how to make it a business. Realize that nobody knows anything. We'll be the first ones to tell you we don't know. We don't know anything. But you'll often see, oh, everybody's doing this. And it's like a lot of people don't know why something works or why it doesn't work. And that drives me crazy because, like, oh, well, like this entrepreneur did this. Like, okay, what happened to the third business they started? Or like, oh, I talked to this actor and this is what helped them get their career. I'm like, they don't know. They don't even know what it got them. It's this. There are lessons to be learned, but sometimes the people who are in the middle of them don't know what it was. So,
yeah, that's one of the.
Facebook sucks.
Well, so as a consumer, did you have to wean yourself off the Facebook experience?
No, when I switched to a page right around I did the A&E show. And I was getting to this point, too, where the problem is I had so much noise because in Magic before was people asking me questions and stuff that, like, it was one thing, hey, a quick question, but then, I'd get these long emails and like, can I be your apprentice? Can I be this? And all these sorts of things. And I want to be famous. I want you to, I want you to, and just all these sort of people asking for way more from me than I even know how to do or whatever. And I'm like, I just got in the habit of just not being able to respond to that. And then once I was on TV, that increased 1,000-fold, of just, I can't keep up with this.
That's the hardest decision is you want to believe that part of being a definition of a good person is I'll respond to everyone. I have an unlimited well of energy and caring about mentorship or whatever. But at some point you just have to shift your perspective and just see it as a river. And it's like when it's time to take a drink, you can lean over and grab whatever, a handful of water. Everything else just has to go.
I love like Periscope and Facebook Live when it doesn't suck. It's like, hey, I'm like, guys, here's my attention. You got my attention for a couple hours, and I'll stick around as questions go. I'm happy to do this, but then I got to go right, and you need to go right. These other people, a lot of these questions, people are like, oh, they're asking me for stuff. It's like, no, you need to go do the thing you need to do. Don't come to me. I can't tell you what the right path is. I don't know what it is for me, but
that's actually in terms of an after things takeaway. Maybe that's what we should do is institutionalize office hours and just say this is the only time I make my attention available to the general public. If what you have is important, then it's worth you showing up during this time. That is posted or whatever. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean I try to do that sometimes if I can schedule my streams. Like I'm in the middle of finishing a book, so I'm like only one thing matters, that book. There'd be a house across the street could be on fire. If I'm like, everybody out? Okay, I'm gonna go back to writing. It's just my mentality on that. But what I want to do after I get this done is I'm probably going to try to do something on Twitter and say, hey, I'm going to give away free, 5 free 1 hour Skype sessions. Just whoever wants to talk about writing for an hour, I'll do this. It's not business. It's just a thing. Like I've been very lucky, very, very, very lucky what I've gotten, and I'd be happy to like do that. But also I like doing the live streams and stuff, and the response is great. But yeah, I just, the reason I got out of Facebook was, one is it was a time sink. The war with robots has already started. They have, and I am serious, they have engineered AI designed to capture your attention, watching how long it takes you to click on something and running a massive experiment to try to click it again. They've acknowledged playing with emotions and stuff, and now they know they have a problem because there's actually, Facebook is depressing people, and that's not where they wanted to go, but they knew that if you trigger certain emotions more, you would get more of a reaction, and that's a problem they're getting themselves into, is that they've made people depressed, but they want to go back in there. And where do you go when you're depressed? I go tell people on Facebook that I'm doing this. So it is a manipulative machine designed to get you to watch it and pay attention and click on advertisers so they can continue to make more money. Bless them. That's fine. This is the world I want to live in, where you're free to do that. But I, as an individual, and you as individuals, we have a choice. We can say, not today, Satan.
Well, and that's why I know we've, in our futurism segments, I predicted this before, but it's like you're going to be able to subscribe to a level of attention curation. Basically, you're going to have, you'll be able to ask Alexa or Cortana or Siri, where it's like, hey, starting now, I'm paying $10 a month. I only want to, these are my goals. I only want to experience things that take me towards those goals, and anything that feels like a distraction, please filter. I will pay you for the privilege to not see them.
Well, and you have to keep in mind, you get there by rewarding systems that do that. I love iOS and Apple. There's a lot of problems, things that drive me nuts, but I love my little iOS chat app. I love Messenger because, Apple makes their money selling you hardware and trying to provide you this distraction-free environment. Apple makes its brand is based upon the idea that, we're not going to do that. People are like, oh, that's what they say. Look at their quarterly report. Look at where their profit margins are. It's there. You can see. Well, Look at the success that iAds wasn't.
For me, I was listening to some hacker or privacy-based, it was about serious privacy concerns about like political dissidents and stuff. And the shorthand that they mentioned was, whatever it is you're doing, do it on iOS because it's safer and you're much less likely to get found out about whatever it is.
Yeah, and and again, it's not. I mean, Google's an amazing company, but and to try to make it sort of break it down is that Apple makes its money with hardware that we could say you're paying a tax on the hardware because it costs a lot more and it pays for that and it subsidizes that. That's why you're paying that. Oh, the phones are so expensive. Yes, because they're not trying to make $20 a quarter off of you through advertising.
Right.
They're trying to make it through hardware. Okay. Google had Google Home, or what's the Google Pod thing? They're their own voice thing.
Google Home. Google Home.
Google Home. Yeah. So Google
Yeah.
Home, they had a problem where there was the accidental, not an ad, but a friendly message about telling you what movies in theaters. But they had a problem where people were looking at and they saw that voice that they were able sending unencrypted back to Google was your voice commands and stuff. And everyone it is Siri does this. They all send your voice things back to a server because that's where the intelligent part works to figure that out. Apple encrypts that like at each level. They anonymize it, right? So Apple anonymized because Apple takes that stuff super, super serious. Google's thing wasn't doing it. And they're like, oh, we got to fix this.
Hey,
and it was like,
hold on. I'm sorry. I'm getting a very important telephone call. Hold on. Hello. Yes.
Hello. Your Google listing may not be claimed or verified.
Swear to God. Swear to God.
So yeah, people using the name of Google to make money. So anyhow, it wasn't. They fixed it, but the point was they didn't care. It wasn't. It was a low priority to them because the purpose of this thing was, it's an amazing device. People love it, but because they're the world's largest advertising company, their market, they're focusing their meetings. It's where they're incentivized to. That kind of security it's important, but not there. So just keep in mind. So you incentivize whoever you incentivize is where you go. If you're going to services that are predominantly ad supported, marketing supported, whatever, that's going to be their priority in their relationship with you. If you go to services that you're paying for the service, then that is the service, and that's that's hopefully what they're incentivized for. So anyhow,
well, my pick for After Things is Brian's Google listing.
I mean, apparently it's in disarray, guys. I don't know. I actually do have a pick if we can go into picks. I clicked on The King of Polka on Netflix, not having any idea what it was about, just knowing that it had Jack Black in it. First thing that pops up are the words, "This really happened." And then I was enchanted from that point forward, knowing that it was a true story. And certainly I'm, all kinds of liberties I'm sure were taken. But there's a moment in the credits where something so outrageous is happening that is like, I thought to myself, man, what if they showed the actual footage of, and then they at that moment flip the switch, and as wild and as insane as this comedy movie was, the documentation at the end during the credits led me to believe that it's all pretty much on the nose. It was amazing. It's a lot of blast.
There's also and one of the cool things that Netflix does is when they have shows like that, like A Futile and Stupid Gestures, they try to get the documentary that goes along with it. They're the other one that's sort of that. So there is a cool documentary really about the feature of that go. Forgot his name. Jan Lewin. Yeah. So there's a documentary about him there. So cool.
So good. It's so much. I watched it twice. I watched it and then I made Bonnie watch it the next day.
Justin.
I would say my pick is Archer. We started watching after we finished American Vandal. We started watching Archer, which just such a delight, a delight of a show in terms of like comedy writing. We started the Archer Vice season, which I've seen part of, but it's just God so good, so funny.
Bryce.
Oh, I just watched. Oh, what is it? I just watched something on Netflix.
That's Bryce's pick.
Netflix.com.
This new streaming service, Streamflix.
Oh, yeah, well, you know what? I'll say screw it because I can't remember that. I finished last night watching Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams on Amazon, and I really had a realization that was at the very end of watching those 10 episodes, is that I wasn't aware until I was done with it how many supernatural elements are a part of that universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having X amount of years of Black Mirror, becoming a more, prominent thing, that disconnection from reality was not like an assumed element. Like I was done. I'd be finished with an episode of Electric Dreams and thought, well, that's dumb. That's not a thing.
That's not possible.
Whereas
everything in Black Mirror has the veneer of you can see it around the corner technologically.
Right. And that's certainly a thing on me for like not being able to read that correctly, and it makes me want to go back and rewatch the season of Electric Dreams. But it's really cool, and it's a lot of different. It's a huge range of sci-fi stories, from all outer space stuff to here and now 2018 stories with no high tech. There are some element. There are a couple episodes that have no high tech elements to them at all, and it's cool. It's a cool little thing that they did.
I started watching part of the first one, and I'm like, man, they picked the most kind of cliche Philip K. Dick trope there is. Like, I'm in this identity. I'm in this. Wait, which identity am I? Kind of thing. Because I love Philip K. Dick. I read a lot of his books, but I'm like, man, like that's the most produced version of his stories have been. Total Recall, etc. Like that. And I was a little like, man, like, did you have to lead with this? Because like this is. You're not winning me over here, because like I kind of feel like I've seen this story a lot, but from We Can Remember It wholesale to reading it to being Total Recall, etc. Your observation about Black Mirror, like I'll tell you, like there is an episode in the latest season which I'm not as in love with everybody else in, because it starts off with a thing that I'm like, well, that's just not possible. Like that just won't work. And then I watch. Well, it's Black Museum, and literally it starts with putting the tiny little solar panels on the back of the car to charge the electric car.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I know I'm science fiction and I get it, but that won't work. And the problem is people are stupid enough to think, why don't I do this? And you're like, and it's a tiny that didn't throw it. I'm like, all right. That's this. Okay, if we just put these solar panels, like, it doesn't matter how efficient those solar panels, not enough sun to hit that. Okay, I don't care. How's the story? But then I watched each one of those elements was like magical, and I'm like, this character's got to be Satan, because this is not a human that has access to this magical sort of thing. And then we get to come up, and so I'm like,
it really does. That particular episode ends up reading like something wicked this way comes. Like, he's like, oh, what a menagerie of troubled individuals I have.
Yeah, it's like, it's when it goes to where it goes. I'm so detached from reality and what's real. Like, this is I don't know. Anyhow, funny thing. When that started, he looked at the museum and he looked at the protagonist, and we won't do any spoilers there, but who did he remind you of?
Well, I think I know the punchline on this, but it looked as though this was written for Penn Jillette, and then it found out that it was written by part of it was written by Penn Jillette.
Well, he dressed like he had the rolled up shirt, the vest, the tie. There was the tile, all these sort of iconic sort of Penn and Teller sort of things. And when he lost it, I'm like, this feels like a Penn and Teller thing. This feels like a Penn and Teller. Looks like a Penn and Teller thing. At the end, one of the stories was based on a story by Penn, and I'm like, this is hilarious, because I'm like, man, I just got a weird Penn and Teller vibe. And,
yep, no, I did the exact same thing.
He allegedly wanted to play the role initially. He said on Twitter.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, and it wound up but didn't come to fruition. But he was happy that the guy that got it because he said he did a better job. But I remember seeing something on Twitter with him.
Interesting.
One last thing on Electric Dreams, and I would say give it 2 episodes, because I think the first 2 episodes kind of give you 2 kind of different takes. But if only to see is it not the second episode? The episode with, I don't want to spoil who it is, but there's an episode where there's a robotic and a humanoid android woman, and it is maybe the most perfect casting of anybody I have ever seen ever.
Wow.
It's great. She's the perfect person for it. And I'm just now seeing. Oh no, okay. But it's kind of cool, and I think, especially if you are not used to Philip K. Dick's stories, I think you will actually probably get even more enjoyment out of it, as someone who's read a good amount of Philip K. Dick's short stories and and some of his books, I was like, yeah, that's how these go. That's the twist. There it is. There's the second twist. There, right on time. But it's cool. Also, half of it takes place in Chicago. If it takes place on Earth, it pretty much takes place in Chicago. And I didn't get that until the very end, which is kind of another weird thing.
But too bad this is after things. Real quick, my pick is, I've said this before, say it again, The Attention Merchants by Tim Wu, which I thought was a really, really well done book. And again, we live in a credible age of possibility and potential. And advertising, things like this is essential. This is part of it. And people are like, meh, it's capitalism. Like, yeah, go look at the propaganda in, North Korea, socialist countries, things like that. And tell me how you feel about that. The choice that comes to here is we have to make these decisions for us. Or we can say, let the government do it. Then you basically saying let politicians do it and people who have their own interests.
It's a random side jag that we will not have time to discuss, but holy crap, the rumors of just like, let's just nationalize 5G. It seems like a good idea.
We have no idea where it started from or what it was for, though. It was like, it was just like a PowerPoint presentation.
So here's what happens. Axios last night leaks that there's national security PowerPoint that they have about 5G. There's even questions on exactly what the intention was there. Was it a security thing? Is it a national security thing? But it has been not only distanced by the Trump White House itself, but also by the FCC. So it seems like it was a thing that was thought about that. I mean, if it was something that like Donald Trump came out during the State of the Union and said, this is happening, would have a very long road to hoe for it to be a thing. So I think it's just like, I think it wound up capturing everybody's attention because it was so. It's like such a weird, like, where do you even put that on the political compass kind of idea?
Well, and if we saw there are thousands of PowerPoint presentations, put together by people who are working for the assistant to so-and-so, this council, whatever, this kind of thing. And some of them leaked before, and you see this sort of like, how you would attack Russia. I'm like, oh my God, there are plans to attack. Well, one, they got plans. They should have this stuff. Nothing is like, yeah, this sounds like a dumb idea, but it's like, yeah, isn't whether or not dumb ideas come up, it's do the dumb ideas die? And this one was quickly like, no. So anyhow, but panic. Anyhow. But, we can discuss the merits of it next time. Thank you for joining us on After Things. It's been after.
Boom.
And my bone to pick with Axios was like, I don't think they've because they were very thrilled to have that. Very, very thrilled to have that. But I haven't seen a big Axios post about they're shooting it down or.
Yeah, no. They've reported on Trump distancing themselves from it.
I'm looking for the headline one. I get GOP lawmakers criticize Trump team's 5G proposal. I don't see.
The one that Bryce just showed was Trump team backing off from or distancing themselves from that. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't. Never mind.
Was the original scoop.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that. So if I'm wrong. And so I think that they're making waves. Axios, I like it, but I'm looking at this thing going like, hey, we said this thing, and maybe this thing isn't as big as a thing as we said it was, but we're gonna kind of, skepticism of Greed's proposal. There's not been nothing from Ajit saying no, this ain't happening, whatever. And because it's like,
no, my bad. No, you're right. There's not anything there. Look, I thought that the initial report was kind of flawed because even after reading it, and I was talking with Tom about it, it just seemed like there wasn't even really a clear idea. It's like, okay, well, are you going to form a consortium and just force all the companies to not buy Huawei or Chinese parts? Is this to make sure that China doesn't have a backdoor into our 5G network, or what are we doing here?
I think it's a horrible idea, but I think it should be discussed, though. If there are people who think there's a credible threat, our 5G could be this, do a report, make a proposal, and talk about. I mean, the idea that like, oh, there's verboten idea, and you know, we're free market people here, but like, we don't want to say like, you should never talk about nationalizing this. We'll say like, no, we'll plain white stupid. But
the other thing that's weird about it is that it's like, okay, we'll build a 5G network. You mean like the one that we've already kind of built that leads the world in terms of 5G coverage?
Well,
like
the argument would be is one where they control, it's one company or one agency controlling all of the nodes and everything like that, so it can be magically, you know, be prevented from being infiltrated or whatever. You know, that's the theory, is that like if they control all the nodes, all the junctions, all the lines, all this sort of stuff, you can make sure that all parts of it are secure.
And it certainly has nothing to do with the fact that there would also be a federal backdoor for our agencies from the same people that tried to bring you the Clipper chip.
Nothing to do with that at all. And pay no attention to the previous history of the government protecting our electronic records and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, all right, so they whiffed on the computer with the Clipper chip.
I gotta run.
Fought with manufacturers for that, and then they've fought with server
his
stuff.
His Google listing was in trouble. He got a phone call.
All right, see you, folks.
All right,
Bye, everybody.
Got a Lambo on a bad lease, but he'll make sure that you see. Guys like that got a visa that he don't pay, and he won't remember your name. I don't wanna see you hold on to that. I don't wanna see you hold on.